Hello everyone, and welcome to Dead Time Stories. Tonight, the storm outside isn't the only thing brewing. True tales so chilling they'll make your skin crawl, yet so mesmerizing you won't be able to turn away. But here's the twist. That distant thunder isn't just atmosphere. It's the key to unlocking your deepest sleep. So before you drift off, let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Now, let's get comfortable, relax, and dive into tonight's story. The rain poured in steady sheets, tapping on your umbrella like restless fingers. The neighborhood streets were familiar. You had walked them dozens of times before. But tonight, every corner felt subtly altered, like someone had rearranged the world just slightly while you weren't looking. Blackwood Lane curved ahead, its tall oaks bowing under the storm. That's when you noticed it. The house. You had passed it many times, yet somehow it looked unfamiliar tonight, as if it had shifted in the shadows, presenting a new angle of itself. Its shingles were black with water, its windows pale and blank like blind eyes. And the front door, dark wood, cracked near the hinges, stood just slightly open. You slowed, unease twisting in your stomach. Strange, you muttered aloud, though no one was near enough to hear you. The word dissolved into the storm. The house leaned forward, like it was listening. That's what it felt like anyway. A flicker of light pulsed from inside, pale and cold. Not warm like lamplight, not steady like electricity, something weaker, almost sickly. You should have kept walking, you told yourself. But fatigue weighed on your legs, and the idea of shelter, however temporary, tugged at you. You stepped onto the porch. The wood bowed under your weight, waterlogged and soft. The rain above suddenly quieted, muffled by some trick of the house's overhang. Yet the silence felt too complete, unnatural, as though you had stepped into another world entirely. You touched the door. It swung wider with a groan, as though relieved to be opened, and the smell hit you, damp roses and something metallic beneath, like rust or old blood. Inside, the entry hall stretched farther than it should have. The wallpaper, patterned in roses long since faded, curled and sagged like peeling skin. The staircase rose in the center, its polished banister gleaming faintly in the unnatural light. Then came the sound. Footsteps. Upstairs, slow, deliberate, measured. You froze, heart hammering in your chest. Someone was home. The steps paused, as though the person had stopped to listen. The silence pressed tighter around you. And then, faintly, a voice, raspy, distant, neither male nor female. "Why are you here?" You stood in the entryway, shoes dripping onto warped floorboards, staring up at the darkened stairwell. The voice had been faint, but you knew it wasn't your imagination. "Why are you here?" The words echoed in your skull even after the silence swallowed them. Your mouth went dry. I didn't mean to intrude," you whispered, not even sure if you wanted to be heard. The house seemed to lean in closer, as though waiting for more. The pale light flickered again, drifting along the ceiling like weak moonlight. It pooled faintly at the base of the staircase, beckoning you toward the second floor. Every instinct screamed to leave. The rain still hissed outside, the night still lay beyond this strange house. Yet your body refused to move. There was a pull here, subtle but undeniable, as though stepping out now would leave something unfinished, something that wouldn't let you sleep again if you turned away. The banister gleamed as you placed your hand upon it. Cold. Slick. Almost alive. One step creaked beneath your weight. Then another. Halfway up, the voice returned. Louder this time. "Come closer." The tone wasn't threatening, it was patient. Waiting. At the top of the stairs, the hallway stretched impossibly long, lined with closed doors. The pale light seeped from beneath one door, at the very end. You whispered to yourself, "Just one look. Then I'll leave." The door at the end shifted slightly, as though it had heard you. You walked. Each step felt muffled, swallowed by thick carpet patterned in roses. Again, roses, faded and gray. The wallpaper here sagged with water damage, but you smelled no dampness. Instead, the metallic tang thickened, clinging to your tongue. You reached the door. Light flickered underneath, restless and cold. Your fingers hovered over the handle. That's when you heard it, soft, shallow breathing. On the other side. And then, a whisper right against the wood, so close it raised the hair on your arms. You shouldn't have come here alone. The knob turned by itself. The knob twisted beneath your hand, slick as though touched by someone else just moments before. You pulled back instinctively, but the door swung inward with a low groan, revealing a room bathed in that unnatural, pale glow. It was a bedroom, or it had been once. The wallpaper, again patterned in roses, was almost completely peeled away, leaving pale scars on the wood beneath. The carpet squelched under your shoes, though it was dry to the touch when you glanced down. At the center stood a bed with a high, carved headboard. Upon the mattress lay dozens of dried rose petals, scattered like brittle confetti. But what caught your eye was the mirror. It leaned against the far wall, tall and old, framed in black wood. The pale light came from it, not reflected but emitted, as though the glass itself glowed faintly. And in the mirror, not your reflection. The figure stood where you stood, but it was not you. Its body was stretched thin, its arms too long, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. The face was a blur of pale skin, smooth where features should have been. Yet you felt its eyes upon you. You gasped, stumbling backward. Your reflection didn't move with you. "Why are you here?" the figure whispered again, but now you realized it wasn't a voice carried by air. It was inside your skull, threading through your thoughts. Your throat was dry. "I just needed shelter, the storm." The figure tilted its head farther, impossibly far, until the neck seemed ready to snap. "You stepped through the door," it hissed. "Now the house has chosen." The words chilled your blood. Chosen? For what? You tried to break away from the mirror's pull, but your feet felt rooted to the floor. The figure's long arms pressed against the inside of the glass as though it wanted to crawl out, to trade places with you. The rose petals on the bed stirred, though there was no wind. One by one, they began to rise, circling the room like brittle red snow. And then, clear as if someone stood right behind you, a child's voice giggled. "Don't let it touch you." You spun. The room was empty. When you turned back, the figure in the mirror was gone. But the surface of the glass rippled, like water waiting for a stone. Your breath came fast, fogging in the air though the room was warm. The glass rippled again, shivering faintly like a pond disturbed by an unseen hand. You took a step back, heart thundering. "Don't let it touch you." The child's voice lingered, echoing faintly as though it had been spoken down a long hallway. You scanned the room. No one. Only the bed, its blanket stiff with age, its surface littered with petals that drifted lazily to the floor. The walls groaned as though the house itself exhaled. You whispered, barely audible, "Who's there?" This time, the answer came from the corner of the room. A small figure crouched near the dresser, knees drawn to chest. A boy 7, maybe 8, dressed in old-fashioned clothes, suspenders over a white shirt yellowed with age. His hair stuck to his forehead as though damp, and his eyes, dark, hollow things, stared at you without blinking. "You shouldn't have opened the door," he said softly. Your mouth went dry. "I didn't. I just needed to get out of the rain." The boy tilted his head. "That's what they all say." The mirror behind you pulsed with light, and when you glanced back, the faceless figure had returned, closer now, its long hands pressing harder against the glass. The surface bulged, stretching outward like skin about to tear. The boy's voice sharpened. "If it gets through, you won't leave. Ever." A crack spidered across the mirror. You stumbled backward, almost tripping on the bed frame. The rose petals rose again, swirling faster, carried by a wind that seemed to come from the mirror itself. "What do I do?" You shouted over the rising hum. The boy stood, his small form rigid. "Find the key." "Key? What key?" He didn't answer. He was gone. One blink, there, the next, gone, as though the shadows had swallowed him whole. The crack widened. A hand pressed through, pale and slick, dripping something dark that sizzled when it touched the carpet. You lunged for the door, slamming it shut behind you. But the whisper followed, sliding through the wood. You can't run. You're inside now. You stumbled into the hallway, chest heaving, your hand clamped tight around the doorknob you just pulled shut. The wood pulsed faintly beneath your palm, warm as though the mirror's presence had seeped into it. You let go quickly, wiping your hand on your jacket, heart pounding. The hallway stretched long and narrow, dim light flickering from sconces that hadn't been lit when you first climbed the stairs. Their glow was weak, yellowing the faded rose-patterned wallpaper. Shadows pooled in the corners, shifting when you tried to focus on them. The silence was crushing. No rain, no thunder. Just your breathing. Until, tap. A sound like knuckles rapping lightly on wood. You turned. The door you had closed trembled faintly, as though something inside tapped from the other side. 3 slow knocks. Then silence. You backed away, and your eyes flicked toward the other doors lining the hallway. 5 in total, each identical, tall, narrow, dark wood. None marked. The pale light still bled faintly from beneath one at the far end. But it wasn't steady, it pulsed in and out, like a heartbeat. As you hesitated, one of the nearer doors rattled. The knob twitched, turning slightly before stilling. A woman's voice, muffled, drifted through. "Please, it's so dark in here. Won't you let me out?" You froze. Her tone was fragile, desperate. "Who are you?" you whispered. "I'm trapped," she answered, voice breaking into sobs. "The house won't let me go. Please open the door." You reached out to spite yourself, fingers brushing the knob. It was ice cold. Then another voice cut through, sharp, urgent. The child's voice again, though you couldn't see him. "Don't open it. She's not what she sounds like." Your hand recoiled. The woman's sobbing stopped instantly, replaced by laughter, low, throaty, wrong. The knob jerked violently, rattling in its socket. You stumbled back, bumping into the opposite wall. The hallway seemed longer now, stretching farther than it had before. The pale glow at the far end flared brighter, calling you forward. "Find the key." The child's voice urged again, closer now, almost at your shoulder. "Where is it?" you whispered, desperate. But the house answered instead. All the doors in the hallway began to rattle, their knobs twisting and shaking in unison, wood groaning under unseen hands. And above it all, the mirror voice slithered through the air. "The key won't save you. You belong to me already." You moved because not moving felt worse than walking. A slow, obedient step forward toward the light at the far end of the hall. The carpet swallowed your shoes. The roses in its pattern seemed to twist and turn as if watching you go. The sconces guttered and inhaled in time with your heartbeat, each breath of light making the shadows breathe. 2. Left, the child's voice whispered, impossibly close. "Through the door with the brass plate." You obeyed. The third door on the left bore a small, tarnished plate where a name might once have been. Your fingers shook as you turned the knob. The room inside was small and square, crowded with wooden furniture draped in yellowing sheets. A bureau, a child's high chair, a stack of trunks cracked with age. Dust motes drifted like tiny planets in the pale glow. On top of the largest trunk sat a tin box the size of your palm, its lid dented and dull. When you picked it up, the metal was warm, as though it had been held only moments before. You opened it with a sudden, clumsy eagerness. Inside lay a single key. It was heavier than it looked, its bow carved in the shape of a withered rose. When you lifted it, the room inhaled, a soft sound like someone exhaling through a straw. "Is that it?" you asked aloud, absurdly seeking confirmation. "Maybe," the child answered. "Maybe not. Keys in this house are greedy. They keep little things." You felt something tug at the corners of your mind, like a thread pulled gently. For a heartbeat you were standing in the room and also not, a memory blurred at the edges. For a second you remembered a kitchen table, a chipped mug, a laugh you didn't know was yours. The sensation passed like a tide retreating. You clutched the key tighter, suddenly afraid of what the house might take in exchange. A noise came from the trunk behind you, a soft, insistent tapping, like fingernails on wood. You turned. The trunk lid was cracked open an inch and a pale hand, smaller than yours, pushed through the gap, then retreated. The hand left a smear on the wood that looked unmistakably, impossibly like blood. They bargained, the child said, not unkindly. They take. They trade. They like names and laughter and little backpacks. Give them something, and you leave with less. You swallowed. What do they want from me? Silence. The light in the room dimmed an almost imperceptible degree. Outside, somewhere down the hall, a door slammed so hard the whole house shivered. They like being remembered, the child finally said. But not by you. By others. If you remember, they feed. The key felt colder now in your hand. You had it. That meant choices. You also had the growing sense that the house had been waiting for you to find it, that the key had been placed where you could find it because finding it was a part of whatever design had brought you here. You stepped back into the corridor, the rose-carpeted stretch seeming shorter. The glow at the end of the hallway pulsed once, then twice, as if in answer. The doors around you settled into uneasy silence. Far above, from the direction of the attic, something began to scrape, slow, deliberate, like the sound of chairs being dragged from an upstairs dining room. Up, the child said softly. You looked up the stairwell to the attic hatch, small and square, a patch of darkness above the ceiling. The house smelled suddenly of old paper and the hollow sweetness of long-closed cupboards. With the key in your pocket and the child's voice in your ear, you climbed. At the attic door, hands, many hands, pressed against the other side, feeling for purchase. They stopped when they felt your footsteps. Then they began to pat, softly, respectfully, as if waiting for permission to enter. The narrow stair groaned under your weight, each step threatening to splinter. The smell thickened the higher you climbed, dust and mildew, but also something acrid, sharp, like scorched fabric. Your hand hovered near the ceiling where the attic hatch waited, a square of warped wood flush with the plaster. You paused. The key in your pocket throbbed faintly, as though it had a pulse of its own. Then, the patting. Gentle, insistent, like many small palms pressing rhythmically against the underside of the hatch. The sound grew louder the closer you leaned in, until you swore you could feel the vibrations in your chest. Don't open it without asking, the child's voice whispered. They'll take too much. Who's they? You asked. Silence. Your throat felt raw as you whispered. What do you want from me? The patting stopped. For one precious second the silence was complete. Then, a single, deliberate knock from the other side. Your pulse spiked. You reached into your pocket, fingers closing around the withered rose key. Its edges dug into your palm like thorns. When you pressed it against the hatch's iron lock, the wood shifted under your hand, sighing as though it had lungs. The key slid in smoothly, turning with the soft scrape of metal against bone. The hatch swung open, spilling cold air across your face. The attic yawned above, black and endless. You hoisted yourself through. The boards were brittle beneath your knees, snapping in places, but you pulled yourself fully inside. The hatch slammed shut behind you. The darkness was total. Then, slowly, faint shapes emerged. Not from light, there was none, but from a deeper awareness, as if the attic itself wanted you to see. Rows of chairs lined the space. Wooden, broken, rocking, dining, all facing inward toward a small circle at the center. And on each chair sat a figure. They were wrong, though. Some were little more than shadows with hollow outlines. Others looked nearly human but blurred at the edges, like memories half forgotten. Their heads all turned toward you as one. One figure leaned forward, voice rasping through the silence. The key doesn't open doors. It opens debts. Another voice, higher, cracked with age, joined in. Pay what you owe, and maybe we'll let you leave. The chairs creaked as more of them leaned forward. The air thickened, heavy as stone. You backed up instinctively, but the key in your pocket pulsed again, this time hotter, biting into your leg. What debt? You demanded, though your voice shook. The figures laughed softly, overlapping, their voices echoing like a choir of broken bells. The debt of walking in. The circle of chairs creaked as the figures shifted. Their shapes wavered like smoke, some solidifying for a moment before blurring again. All of them leaned toward you, patient, as if they had been waiting a very long time. One rose slowly from its chair. Taller than the rest, cloaked in rags that hung like rotted curtains, its hands stretched long and pale. The face beneath its hood was unfinished, no eyes, no mouth, only smooth skin where features should be. Still, when it spoke, the words vibrated inside your chest. "The house does not open itself for nothing," it intoned. "You crossed the threshold. You took the key. Now you must pay." Your throat tightened. "Pay how?" The figure extended its hand. The air around it shimmered faintly, cold biting into your skin though it hadn't touched you. "Give us a piece," it whispered. "A memory. A name. Something you cannot get back." The other figures murmured in agreement, their voices blending like dry leaves rattling in the wind. From the far corner, the child's voice cut through, clear, sharp. "Don't. They'll hollow you out until nothing's left." You turned, searching, but saw only shadows. "Quiet, little ghost," the tall figure hissed. "You linger only because we allow it." Your chest burned with confusion. "I never agreed to this. I didn't even know this house was here. I just needed shelter." The hooded figure tilted its head. "And the house provided. Shelter costs." Your hand clenched around the key in your pocket, its carved rose biting deeper into your palm. You forced yourself to steady your voice. "What if I don't pay?" The figure's smooth face drew closer. Though featureless, you felt its gaze burrow into you. "Then you stay. Forever. Like the rest." At those words, the seated figures shifted violently. For the briefest instant, their forms sharpened, and you saw them. People. A woman in a tattered nightdress, her eyes sewn shut. A man in a suit, his mouth stretched into a soundless scream. Children, dozens of them, with hollow sockets where their eyes should be. Each face flickered in and out of focus, like trapped memories worn thin by time. You staggered back, bow rising in your throat. The child's voice came again, urgent. "Don't look at them. They'll follow you inside your head if you stare too long." The tall figure extended its hand farther. The air around it thickened until breathing felt like swallowing stone. "Choose," it said, "or the house will choose for you." The chairs scraped against the attic floor as the others leaned closer, hungry, waiting. The attic pressed in around you, every breath heavy with dust and something sour, like spoiled milk. The circle of chairs creaked, their occupants whispering in anticipation. The tall figure stood motionless, its outstretched hand impossibly steady. "Choose," it repeated, voice vibrating through your ribs. Your palm burned where the rose-carved key dug into flesh. You pulled it free, holding it up between you and the figure. The pale glow from the key flared faintly, illuminating the nearest chairs. For a moment the shadows hissed, recoiling. "That won't save you," the figure murmured. "Keys open, but they do not close." Your voice cracked. "What do you want me to give?" The figure's smooth face tilted. "A memory. A moment. Something small. We are fair." The murmurs swelled, voices overlapping. "Give us your laughter. Give us the face of your mother. Give us the name of your first friend." You clutched the key tighter. "If I give you something, will you let me leave?" The tall figure leaned closer, so near you could feel cold radiating from it. "For now." Your chest ached. You searched for the child's voice, desperate. "What happens if I give them something?" Silence. Then, faintly, almost sorrowful, "You'll never get it back." You closed your eyes, dizzy. Memories flickered across your mind like fragile film reels. Your childhood bedroom, the warmth of a summer afternoon, the sound of someone's voice calling your name from far away. Each moment seemed suddenly precious, unbearably fragile. The tall figure's hand twitched. "Time runs thin. Choose." The circle of chairs groaned as figures shifted restlessly. Some leaned forward, their blurred shapes resolving into faces for the briefest instant, faces wet with tears, faces twisted in rage, faces pleading silently. You backed away until your heel struck something behind you. You turned sharply. The child stood there, half in shadow, his dark eyes locked on yours. "Don't give them what they ask." he whispered. Give them what they can't keep. Your breath hitched. What does that mean? His lips barely moved. Lie. The figures stirred violently, as though they had heard. The tall one straightened, its hood brushing the rafters. No, it said, the attic trembling with the force of its demand. Or the house decides for you. The chairs screeched against the floor as the circle closed tighter. The key pulsed once in your hand, searing hot. You had to speak. You had to choose. Your throat felt raw, but words pushed their way out, trembling and uneven. Take the memory of my first toy, you whispered. A wooden car. Red paint chipped. I don't need it anymore. The attic stilled. The tall figure tilted its hooded head. Around the circle, the whispers rose in a frenzied hiss. Disbelief, hunger, anger. A dozen voices tangled, some crying out. Too small, others snarling. Greedy trick. The child's voice threaded through them all, sharp and urgent. Don't look down. Don't let them see your doubt. You force yourself to stand taller, the key burning in your hand like a coal. The tall figure reached forward. Its long, pale hand brushed against your forehead, not skin, not flesh, but something colder, deeper. You felt pressure behind your eyes, a tugging sensation like someone rifling through your thoughts. Then silence. The hand pulled back, trembling faintly. The tall figure reeled a step away, head jerking in something like confusion. Empty, it hissed. A hollow offering. The voices in the circle screamed in unison, chairs clattering, shadows stretching and twisting violently. You staggered, clutching the key. The attic shook as if the house itself were furious. The child appeared at your side, small hand grabbing your sleeve. His eyes were wide, urgent. Run! Before they decide what to take instead. You bolted toward the hatch. The circle surged, chairs scraping across the floor, figures lurching after you. Their arms stretched, elongated, reaching for your ankles, your hair, your breath itself. You slammed the key into the lock. The hatch yawned open with a deafening groan. You dropped through, landing hard on the hallway carpet. The hatch slammed shut above you. Silence. Then, the faintest sound of laughter from behind the wood. Dozens of voices, mocking, rolling together like a storm cloud of mirth. You stumbled backward, clutching the key to your chest. The child's voice whispered faintly, now distant. They know you lied. And now they'll want more. From down the hallway, the glowing door pulsed brighter, as though it had been waiting for this very moment. The hallway stretched before you, dim sconces guttering in the walls, their flames bowing as though a wind passed, though no air stirred. The glow at the far end pulsed again, brighter, throbbing like a living vein. You stood unsteady, back still pressed to the attic hatch. The laughter above had died away, but the silence that followed was worse. It pressed in on your ears, heavy and expectant, broken only by the faint thump, thump of the light ahead. You whispered, "Why me?" though the words dissolved into the hush. The glow responded. The door at the far end shuddered once, then began to creak open, inch by inch. "Don't go in," the child's voice murmured faintly near your ear. "But you will. They always do." You swallowed hard, forcing your legs to move. Each step sank into the carpet, the roses beneath your feet seeming to darken, their petals curling like they were wilting under your weight. The door opened fully as you neared, spilling pale light into the hallway. Not warm, not bright. This was the same sickly glow that had bled from the mirror. It clung to your skin, making your shadow stretch long and thin across the floor. The room beyond was vast. Larger than it should have been, larger than the entire house could hold. Its walls curved outward like the inside of a cathedral. The ceiling was lost in darkness, so high it vanished from sight. At the center of the room stood a pedestal. Upon it sat another mirror, taller than you, framed in black and wood carved with roses. This one, however, didn't ripple. Its surface was still. Too still. You stepped closer. The glow radiated from it, seeping into the walls, painting everything in cold light. The child appeared at your side again, sudden as breath. His eyes were wide, his face pale. "This is the heart," he whispered. The house's mouth. Don't speak to it. Your own reflection wavered faintly in the glass. Not distorted this time, not stretched or faceless. Just you? But when you tilted your head, the reflection didn't follow. It stood still. Then it smiled. You lied to them. Your reflection said, voice identical to yours, only deeper, darker. But you can't lie to me. The child tugged at your sleeve, urgent. Don't answer it. Don't. Your reflection pressed its hand against the inside of the glass. Give me the key, it whispered, and I'll let you go. You froze in front of the mirror, your own face grinning back at you with a malice you'd never seen in yourself. The smile spread wider, stretching too far, until it split across your reflection's cheeks like cracks in porcelain. The child's grip tightened on your sleeve. His voice was sharp, urgent. Don't give it anything. Not the key. Not even your words. But your reflection leaned closer, lips brushing against the glass, whispering with your voice. Do you know what it costs to lie to them? I do. I remember what you gave away. I remember because I am you. Your stomach twisted. That's not true, the child hissed. Don't answer. The mirror vibrated, humming faintly. Your reflection chuckled, a low, rasping sound. You already did. And now it knows. The pedestal beneath the mirror groaned, splitting as cracks raced across its surface. Black liquid seeped through, pooling at your feet. It stank of rot and iron. Your reflection's hand pressed harder against the glass. The surface rippled like water, each movement echoing in your chest. Give me the key, it repeated, eyes flashing pale light. And I'll carry the debt for you. You'll walk out free. No more house. No more voices. Just rain and the road home. The words sank into you, heavy and tempting. Your fingers brushed the key in your pocket, the carved rose edges cutting deeper into your skin. The child stepped in front of you, blocking the mirror's glow with his small frame. It lies. It always lies. If you give it the key, it won't carry your debt. It'll carry you. You swallowed hard. The voices of the attic seemed to drift faintly through the ceiling, laughing, whispering, chanting. You couldn't make out the words, but you knew they were waiting. Your reflection tilted its head, grin fading into something solemn. You can't trust a ghost, but you can trust yourself. I am you. I know what you want most. The mirror's surface began to bulge outward, the glass stretching like skin. Fingers pressed through, pale and trembling, each one tipped with nails that gleamed like obsidian. The child whispered, trembling now. Decide. Before it decides for you. The key in your hand burned hotter, pulsing in rhythm with your heart. Behind the glass, your reflection's eyes locked on yours. Choose. The mirror's surface quivered, pale fingers straining outward as your reflection's voice clawed at your ears. Choose. Your hand closed tighter around the rose key until the edges cut into your palm. The heat was unbearable, a burning coal embedded in your flesh. But you shook your head. No. The word left your lips like a stone dropped into deep water. For a heartbeat, silence filled the cathedral-like room. Your reflection froze, the grin faltering, its stretched face twitching as though the glass itself had cracked. Then it slammed its palm flat against the surface, a thunderous boom that rattled the pedestal and sent ripples through the pale glow. You don't refuse me. It roared, your own voice booming back twisted and doubled. I am what you become. The child clutched your arm. Don't listen. Keep it out. Keep it out. The mirror bulged, the glass bending outward like liquid, and your reflection's head began to push through. The grin was gone now, replaced with raw hunger. Its eyes glowed faintly, bottomless pits sucking in every shred of light. The black liquid around your shoes deepened, climbing your ankles. It was thick, sticky, tugging you toward the mirror. You struggled, pulling back, but the floor groaned beneath you, dragging like it was tilting toward the pedestal. You don't walk away from yourself, the reflection hissed. Its arm pushed through the surface fully, pale skin slick and steaming where it met the air. Fingers stretched toward your chest. You raised the key instinctively, the burning metal brightening until its carved rose blazed red. The glow splashed across the glass, and for a moment your reflection reeled, hissing, withdrawing an inch. The child shouted, "Press it to the glass! Now!" You lurched forward, heart hammering. With both hands you slammed the key against the surface. A scream tore through the chamber, rattling the walls. The mirror shuddered violently, spiderweb cracks spreading from the point of contact. Your reflection's face twisted, snarling, as its hand was pulled backward into the rippling surface. "You can't erase me!" it howled. "I am you!" The cracks deepened, racing across the frame. The entire pedestal trembled, threatening to collapse. The child tugged your sleeve, panicked. "It's breaking. If it shatters, it lets everything through. We need to move, now!" Behind the mirror, dozens of shapes pressed against the surface. Not just your reflection, others. Faces, limbs, hollow eyes. They writhed, pressing outward, desperate to spill into the room. The glow flared brighter, searing your eyes. The mirror screamed. And then, the glass exploded outward. The sound of the mirror breaking was not glass, it was bone. The shriek rattled through the cavernous chamber, echoing in your teeth, vibrating the marrow of your bones. Shards burst outward in every direction, but instead of falling, they hovered midair, suspended like 1,000 glimmering knives. Each shard reflected not you, but countless faces, some screaming, some laughing, all reaching through their reflections with clawed hands. The child shoved you backward. "Run!" he cried, voice cracking. The pedestal collapsed, spilling black liquid across the floor. It surged forward like a tide, swallowing the roses of the carpet, dissolving them into pulp. From the shards, the shapes pushed harder, pale arms, twisted legs, mouths opening wide with no sound but the hiss of hunger. You stumbled toward the doorway, the hovering shards slicing through the air behind you. One grazed your shoulder. The cut burned cold, seeping into your skin like frost. You cried out, clutching it, but the child yanked your sleeve again. "Don't stop! Keep moving!" The hallway twisted as you burst through, stretching impossibly long, doors multiplying on either side. Some stood ajar, shadows spilling into the hall, whispering and beckoning. Others rattled violently, unseen fists pounding from within. The sconces along the walls guttered and went out one by one, plunging the corridor into near darkness. Behind you, the glow of the chamber blazed brighter, followed by the sound of 1,000 hands dragging across the floorboards. The child's voice trembled now, though he ran beside you, bare feet silent against the carpet. "It's loose now. The house won't hold it anymore." You gasped for breath. "Loose? What do you mean?" His dark eyes flashed as he looked at you. "It isn't the house that keeps them here. It's the mirror. And you broke it." A thunderous crack split the air as the walls shuddered violently, wallpaper peeling in great sheets. The ceiling sagged, groaning, dust raining down. The house itself seemed to wail, wood splintering, glass shattering in distant rooms. The child grabbed your wrist, pulling you toward a stairwell that hadn't been there before, spiraling downward into blackness. "We can still get out," he urged. "But only if you're willing to pay." Your blood ran cold. "I already refused them." "Not them," the child cut in, his voice low, urgent. "Me." You stumbled to a stop on the landing, heart hammering. The shadows behind you spilled faster now, skittering along the walls and floor, reaching, stretching. The boy's small hand squeezed yours with surprising strength. "Give me what I ask, and I'll show you the way out. Or stay, and you'll belong to them forever." You skidded down the spiral stair, your breath sharp and shallow, the house's groans chasing at your heels. The child pulled you through a low door into a narrow passage lined with crooked picture frames. Faces swam in the glass, family portraits, aunts and uncles and strangers whose smiles had been stretched thin by time. For a moment you thought one of them winked, but when you blinked it was just another trick of the light. The passage opened into a small room that smelled of lemon rind and old paper. A single bare bulb swung from the ceiling, swaying as though moved by some invisible hand. The child let go of your wrist and stepped in front of you, folding his arms like an impatient guardian. He looked older here, just a fraction, cheeks hollowed, eyes brighter with an intent you hadn't seen before. For the first time since you'd met him, the smallness felt chosen rather than a remnant of trapped time. He stared at you as if measuring the width of your resolve. "I told you," he said quietly. "You'll have to give something." You swallowed. "I already refused them." Your voice broke. "I won't give them more." He shook his head slow. "You refused the mirror, yes. That bought time. But breaking it spilled things loose. The house eats chances now, not promises. I can lead you out, if you pay me what I ask." "What do you want?" The words were a rasp. Your hands still smelled faintly of the black liquid. The cut on your shoulder had stung, a cold burn that never quite warmed. He considered, then spoke like someone cataloging a rare thing. "I want a memory. Not theirs. They take memories to build rooms, to pin faces to walls. I want one that will live with me outside, something that will hold me a shape when I'm not in the house." "Why you?" you said, because it felt like asking the safe question. "Why not take something small? A trinket? A word?" The child's mouth tightened. "Trinkets shatter. Words get lost. Memories, true memories, are heavy. They make a person. If I carry one out, the house's pull on me loosens. I can maybe stay forgotten by the chairs. Maybe I'll stop being only a voice in the halls." Your head swam with the possibility of freedom, yours and his. But a memory was not something you could pluck like a coin. You'd seen what they meant when others asked, hollow faces, laughter given away like crumbs. You remembered the sharp, hollowed look on the tall figure's face when you offered the wooden car, its disgust. The house wanted what was honest and unguarded. "What do you need me to give?" you asked, voice smaller than you felt. He stepped closer, so close you could see the tiny scars at his wrists. "Give me one thing you cannot make again. A true thing. Not the name of someone you met, not a song you half remember. Something that is the shape of you. Your mother's laugh on the porch at dusk. The exact way your brother fell asleep against your shoulder. The smell of your first house. If you close your eyes, you can see it. Give that to me." A jolt of panic flared in your chest. Those were the things that steadied you, the little anchors that made waking bearable. To hand one over felt like tearing a page from your life. "If I refuse?" you heard yourself ask. The child's face softened, and for a breath you saw something that might have been fear. "If you refuse, the house will take by force. It will take more than one thing. It will take pieces, little by little, until you are nothing but a face in a frame. If you give willingly, I can bargain. I'll lead you through a way the house doesn't notice. I'll cover your footprints. I'll make a door where none exists." You thought of the hallway, the chairs, the attic full of hollow-eyed people. You thought of rain, the road home, the small hope of ordinary mornings. The key burned in your pocket, a hot, painful reminder of choices. Finally, you closed your eyes. Images came unbidden, a warm kitchen, sunlight on a chipped mug, your mother's laugh like a bell. You felt the memory ache at the edges, vivid and fragile as frost. When you opened your mouth, your voice trembled but was steady. "I'll give it." The child's face changed. Relief, yes, but something deeper. He reached for you with small, determined hands. "Tell me the memory," he said. "Say it out loud, and mean it. Do not dress it up. Do not bargain with adjectives. Make it small and exact." You drew a breath so deep it hurt, and began to speak. Your tongue felt heavy, your throat raw, as if the house itself resisted the offering. Still, the child's eyes pinned you in place, dark, unblinking, patient as stone. He waited, small palms open at his sides like he was ready to catch something fragile. You spoke softly, as if afraid the walls might hear. "It was summer," you began. "I was 7. We lived in the house with the green shutters. Every evening, when the sun dipped low, my mother would sit on the porch swing. The wood creaked, and she'd laugh, at nothing sometimes, just at the sound of the swing itself, or at me running barefoot in the yard." The words grew steadier, memory unfolding like paper smooth from a crumpled ball. She had a chipped glass of lemonade. Always the same glass, always half full. And that laugh, it wasn't loud. It was soft, rising like music just for me. I thought it meant the world was safe. Your chest ached as the picture sharpened in your mind. The warm evening air, the smell of cut grass, the porch light flickering on before the sky fully darkened. When the last word left your mouth, silence pressed in. The air seemed to vibrate, heavy, like something immense listening. The child drew a sharp breath. His eyes widened, drinking in every syllable as though they had form, as though the memory itself flowed out of you and into him. His outline flickered once, twice, then steadied, stronger, less transparent. "I can feel it," he whispered, voice reverent. "The swing. The sound. The light. It's mine now." You swayed dizzy. Something inside you, small but deep, was gone. When you reached for it, there was only emptiness. You remembered the porch, the swing, the lemonade, but the laugh itself, her laugh, slipped from your grasp like water through your fingers. Panic surged. "Wait, no, give it back." The child's expression tightened. For the first time, he looked older than you, older than anyone should. "I can't. You gave it. But I will keep my promise." The light bulb above you popped with a crack, plunging the room into darkness. Dust fell from the ceiling in soft streams. The walls groaned, splitting at the corners as if the memory's transfer had loosened something deep in the house's bones. The child reached for your hand again. His fingers were warmer now, flesh more solid than before. "Come! Before it notices what you've given away." He pulled you toward a narrow archway that hadn't been there a moment ago. Beyond it stretched a long corridor of warped wood, breathing faintly, as though the walls themselves inhaled and exhaled. Behind you, the portraits rattled violently in their frames. Faces pressed against the glass from inside, mouths opening in silent screams. The boy tugged harder. "Don't look back." You stumbled forward, into the corridor that smelled of wet earth and roses left too long in a vase. The door behind you slammed shut, the sound echoing down the endless hall. The child whispered, more to himself than to you. "The way out lies below. But the house will make us earn it." The corridor stretched endlessly downward, each step sinking deeper into stale air. The boards beneath your feet were warped, slick with something damp, as if water, or something thicker, had seeped through them for years. You moved in silence for a while, the child's hand clamped tightly on yours. His palm was warmer than before, almost feverish, his small frame more solid. It should have been reassuring, but it wasn't. Every step reminded you of what you'd lost. Your mother's laugh. The hollow absence pressed against the back of your mind. You remembered her face, the chipped glass, the swing on the porch. You could almost remember the sound, but when you reached for it, there was nothing. Only silence. A gap shaped exactly like her laugh. You slowed. Your breath caught, chest tight with grief. "It's gone," you whispered. "I can't hear her anymore. Not even in my head." The boy glanced up at you. His eyes glistened faintly in the dimness, reflecting what little glow bled from cracks in the walls. He looked away quickly, as though ashamed. "I told you," he said softly. "You'll never get it back. But it lives now. With me. And it makes me stronger." There was pride in his tone, but also guilt. He didn't meet your eyes again. The silence stretched between you, heavy and raw. Then, faintly, the house filled it. At first, just a low hum. Then whispers. Dozens of them. They seeped from the walls, muttering words you almost understood. Snatches of sentences, fragments of names. Some sounded like yours. You pressed your free hand to your ear, but the voices crawled in from inside your skull. The boy tugged your wrist sharply. "Don't answer them. No matter what they say. If you answer, they'll know what's missing." The whispers sharpened. You caught one clearly now, a woman's voice, soft, warm, achingly familiar. "Sweetheart? Can you hear me?" Your stomach clenched. The sound was almost right. Almost hers. But empty somehow, the warmth gone thin and hollow. Your throat ached. Every part of you screamed to answer, to cling to whatever scraps of her voice remained. The boy's grip tightened, almost painful. His voice was urgent now, nearly a hiss. It isn't her. It's the house. It knows what you gave up. Don't give it more. The whispers rose into a cacophony. Children laughed. Men shouted. Women wept. Their voices clashed, overlapping, a storm of stolen sounds. The corridor shook beneath your feet, boards rattling like teeth in a skull. You stumbled forward, covering your ears. The boy dragged you along, his small frame impossibly strong, pulling you through the noise. The whispers shifted suddenly into unison, hundreds of voices speaking the same words at once. You don't belong here. You never will. The boy snarled, an inhuman sound tearing from his throat. Ignore them! You squeezed your eyes shut, forcing your legs to move, forcing yourself not to answer, not to speak. Finally, the voices fell away, cut off as if someone had slammed a door behind you. The corridor opened into a wide stone chamber, damp walls gleaming in the faint glow of a lantern that hung from the ceiling. The boy let go of your hand at last. His face was pale, his lips pressed tight. The house knows you're hollow now. It'll try harder to feed. You staggered against the wall, chest heaving. How much worse can it get? The boy turned toward a black stairwell leading deeper down. His answer was barely audible. Much. The stone chamber reeked of dampness, each breath coated in mildew and iron. Water dripped steadily somewhere out of sight, each drop echoing like a clock tick. The lantern overhead swayed without wind, casting long shadows that crawled across the wet walls. The boy didn't wait. He stepped toward the stairwell that gaped like a wound in the floor, black and endless. His small hand brushed the stone rail, and for a moment his shape flickered, solid, then translucent, then solid again. The memory you had given him still clung to his outline like a halo, but already it seemed strained. You lingered at the top. What's down there? The boy's voice was flat. The first ones. The ones the house made before it learned to whisper. Your stomach clenched. Made? He nodded once. Not ghosts. Not people anymore. Just hunger with faces. The drip of water grew louder as you descended. The steps were uneven, slick beneath your shoes. The air cooled sharply until you could see your breath. The boy's small figure moved ahead of you, his silhouette fragile against the dark. Halfway down, a sound rose from the depths, a low, guttural moan that seemed to shake the stones themselves. It wasn't one voice but many, braided together into a single endless note. You froze. What is that? The boy didn't look back. Prisoners. But not like the ones in chairs. These are the ones who tried to fight the house. The stairwell ended in a vast cavern. The walls sweated moisture, rivulets running into black pools on the floor. Chains stretched from the ceiling, rusted and heavy, their links thick as your wrist. And hanging from those chains, figures. They swayed gently, suspended in midair. Some were whole, others fractured, pieces of their bodies missing as if eaten away. Their faces were twisted into silent screams, their eyes glowing faintly like embers. Every few seconds, one of them twitched violently, jerking against its chains, mouth opening wide in a hiss that rattled through the cavern. Your stomach lurched. They're alive? The boy's voice was a whisper. Not anymore. Just echoes of the ones who refused to pay. The house keeps them here. It learns from them. You staggered back a step, pressing against the damp stone wall. One of the chained figures turned toward you, its ember eyes locking on yours. Its mouth moved soundlessly, shaping words you couldn't hear. Then another joined, then another, until dozens of mouths opened, all silently mouthing the same phrase. The boy's face tightened. He whispered urgently, "Don't read their lips. Don't let them in." You tore your eyes away, but the air itself seemed to vibrate with their message. Even without hearing, you knew what they were saying. Stay. The chains rattled violently. The cavern shook. One of the figures strained forward, its arms stretching far beyond what bones should allow, fingers scraping the stone floor just inches from your shoes. The boy seized your hand. Move! They smell the hollow in you! You ran, splashing through black pools, the chained figures thrashing wildly overhead. Their glowing eyes followed you, hundreds of them, as their mouths silently screamed. At the far end of the cavern, another staircase appeared, stone steps rising toward a faint glow, weak but real. The boy pulled you upward, the sound of rattling chains fading behind you. Only when you reached the landing above did you dare look back. And in the distance, one of the figures had broken free. You stumbled onto the landing, lungs burning, ears still ringing with the rattling of chains. The boy pulled you forward, his grip stronger than ever, but his eyes were fixed behind you, watching the stairwell with dread. From the cavern below came the sound of metal grinding against stone, chains dragged across the floor. Then a low, guttural groan rose, deeper than before, shaking the very walls. It followed, the boy whispered. His small voice trembled. It broke loose. The stairwell behind you trembled. A hand gripped the edge of the landing, long, pale, its fingers ending in jagged stumps where nails had once been. The stone hissed under its touch, blackened as though burned. You reeled back as the prisoner pulled itself upward. It was taller than any human should be, its body stretched and warped by the house's hunger. Chains still clung to its limbs, dragging behind it like broken wings. Its face was a ruin, no mouth, no nose, only a mask of smooth skin with ember eyes burning deep inside. The boy shoved you. Run! You bolted down the corridor, the air alive with the sound of chains slithering against stone. The prisoner moved in jerks and spasms, dragging its body forward with sickening speed, the slap of its limbs echoing closer and closer. Doors lined the corridor, identical, each one trembling faintly. Some rattled with hands pounding from inside, others whispered promises through the cracks. This way, we'll hide you, safe here. You ignored them, sprinting as fast as your legs allowed. The boy darted ahead, barefoot steps silent. He glanced back once, his voice sharp. It doesn't stop. Don't let it touch you. The chains behind you clattered, whipping against the walls. One snapped forward, striking just above your head and shattering stone into dust. You ducked, heart hammering. The boy veered suddenly into a side passage, narrow and crooked. You followed, stumbling, shoulders scraping damp wood as you pressed through. The prisoner's bulk slammed into the corner behind you, the walls shaking with the force. It let out a muffled roar, soundless yet deafening in your skull. The passage ended in a door unlike the others, iron, rusted, with no knob. The boy pressed both palms against it. Help me! You threw your shoulder into the door. It groaned, resisted, then swung open with a scream of metal. Together you plunged through, slamming it shut behind you. The chamber beyond was smaller, circular, lined with shelves stacked high with jars. Each jar held a pale object floating in cloudy fluid, hands, eyes, teeth, fragments of bone. Some still twitched faintly, as though not entirely dead. The boy's face hardened. This is where it keeps the pieces it takes. The door shuttered behind you, chains pounding against the other side. Cracks split through the rusted frame. The boy turned to you, eyes fierce. We can't fight it. Not yet. We have to give the house something else to keep it distracted. Your stomach lurched. What else is there to give? His gaze dropped to the key burning in your pocket. The iron door shook under the prisoner's assault, chains striking in relentless rhythm. Dust sifted from the ceiling, shelves rattling with their grisly collection. Glass clinked like teeth in a jar. You pressed back against the shelves, hard hammering. We can't hold it. The boy turned, face pale but eyes sharp. We don't have to. The house loves its toys. Give it something new, and it will pull the prisoner back. Your fingers curled around the rose-carved key in your pocket. It throbbed hot, a pulse that matched the pounding chains. What do I unlock? You asked. The boy pointed to the shelves. His small hand trembled. A jar. Any jar. They're all trades the house hasn't finished. If you free one, the house will notice. It will care more about the bargain than the prisoner. Your stomach lurched at the sight of them. Rows of pale parts suspended in cloudy liquid. An arm twitching weakly, fingernails clawing the glass. A jawbone grinding softly as if chewing air. A cluster of eyes, each one swiveling toward you at once. The pounding grew louder. A crack split the iron door down the center. "No time!" the boy snapped. You yanked the key free. Its tip glowed faintly, the rose petals carved into it bleeding light. You scanned the shelves, desperate, before settling on a jar near the center. Inside, a heart floated, gray and shriveled, its veins black as roots. Yet it beat faintly, slow and stubborn. The key slid into the jar's rusted lock with sickening ease. When it turned, the lid hissed open, releasing a stench of copper and rot. The heart leapt free. It splashed wetly onto the stone floor, twitching. The chains outside fell silent. For one unbearable second, the room was still. Then the heart grew. Veins burst outward, black tendrils spreading across the floor like roots. They wrapped the shelves, the walls, even the iron door. The prisoner screamed. Chains clattered wildly as it was yanked backward, dragged away by unseen force. The cracks in the iron sealed, the pounding ceased. You staggered back, horrified, as the tendrils pulsed, thickening, rooting deep into the chamber. The heart sat in the center, swollen now, each beat louder than a drum. The boy's voice was tight, urgent. "We bought time. That's all. We can't stay here." You turned toward him, but froze. The lantern's glow revealed his outline flickering again, weaker this time. His skin seemed thinner, his edges blurred. You whispered, "What's happening to you?" He looked away. "The memory you gave me, it isn't enough to hold me forever. If the house takes more, I'll slip back into it." His eyes found yours again, fierce but pleading. "I'll need another." The heart on the floor throbbed, louder, hungrier, its veins crawling closer to your shoes. The boy stepped toward you, his voice soft, careful. "Before we go any further, give me something else. Or when it matters, I won't be strong enough to save you." The heart pulsed louder, veins creeping across the stone floor like black snakes, climbing the shelves and splitting the jars one by one. Pale things sloshed into the fluid pooling at your feet, an eye rolling, a jawbone twitching, a hand clawing weakly at the stone before sinking. The boy's shadow flickered as though a candle burned low inside him. His face was taut with urgency. "Now. If you wait, I'll fade. If I fade, the house will swallow me whole, and you'll be alone." You shook your head, voice cracking. "I already gave you one. I don't have anything else to spare." The boy stepped closer, eyes shining with a terrible hunger that didn't belong to a child. "You do. Everyone does. Something deeper. Something sharp enough to cut the house's teeth. Give me that, and I can hold it off." The veins whipped across the chamber, shattering more jars. Shards crunched beneath your shoes. The heart was swelling, filling the center of the room, each beat booming like thunder. You pressed your fists against your temples. Memories surged like fragile glass. The first time you rode a bike, the taste of burnt marshmallows, the voice of someone singing to you softly in the dark. All precious. All yours. The boy's voice sharpened. "Choose! If you hesitate, the house chooses for you." The heart's veins lashed the shelves nearest you. They toppled, sending jars crashing, splintering. Liquids ran together, glowing faintly as the fragments within twitched in their soup of parts. The smell of rot was choking. You staggered back, desperate. "What do you want from me?" The boy's voice dropped to a whisper. "Give me the sound of your own name when someone who loves you says it." You froze. That memory was small, simple, yet deep. It was the sound that made you. Without it, how would you recognize love when it found you again? You shook your head violently. "No, I can't." The veins surged, wrapping the door, sealing your exit. The heart loomed enormous now, each beat rattling your bones. The boy's eyes flickered, his body wavering like smoke. "If you don't, we both die here." The choice clawed at you. The smell, the noise, the pounding of the heart, it all pressed you to the edge. You closed your eyes, forcing the word out like a confession. "Take it." The boy reached up, laying his small palm against your chest. Warmth poured out of you, sharp, unbearable, as if a thread you'd never known was tugged free. You gasped, staggering, as the sound of your own name in a loved one's voice slipped away, dissolving into silence. The boy inhaled deeply, his form stabilizing, glowing faintly now with stolen strength. He opened his eyes, and they were darker, deeper. "Good," he murmured. "Now we can leave." The heart shrieked, its veins thrashing like wild serpents. The boy raised his hand, and the veins froze, recoiling as though scorched. A narrow passage cracked open in the wall, jagged but passable, bleeding pale light. The boy grabbed your wrist. "Come! Before it starts beating again." You staggered through the jagged opening, the boy's grip tight on your wrist. The passage beyond was narrow, walls weeping pale light through cracks like veins glowing under skin. The sound of the heart faded behind you, though its phantom thump still echoed inside your chest. You pressed your free hand to your ribs. Something felt wrong, not just in your body, but in your mind. When you tried to summon the sound of your own name spoken with love, there was nothing. The silence was heavier than the memory of your mother's laugh you had lost earlier. This was worse. The boy glanced back at you, his face sharp in the glow. His outline was steady now, stronger, but his gaze avoided yours. "It'll feel strange at first. Like you're unfinished." "Strange?" Your voice cracked. "I don't even feel like myself. I don't even know who I am without that sound." He stopped, forcing you to halt. His small face was serious, almost adult. "You are still you. The house wants you to believe otherwise. But you gave it freely, so it cannot twist it. You gave it to me." His words should have soothed you, but they didn't. The absence gnawed, sharp and relentless. You wondered if people could look at you and still say your name, or if it would vanish from their lips too, hollow syllables that meant nothing. The boy must have read the fear on your face. "Don't dwell on it. That's how the house gets in. It scratches at the hollow until you break." The corridor widened suddenly, opening into a round chamber. The floor was tiled in a mosaic of roses, each petal chipped and faded. At the center stood a dry fountain, its stone basin cracked. A trickle of black water dripped steadily from the mouth of a carved angel, splashing into the basin with soft, deliberate rhythm. You moved closer, mesmerized. The angel's eyes were empty sockets, but its mouth curved in a faint smile. Words were etched across its base. "Pay and pass. Keep and stay." The boy's jaw tightened. "Another toll." You whispered, "What now?" He stepped to the fountain's edge, peering into the black water. "It won't take flesh or blood. It wants something else. A truth, maybe. Or a lie." The drip of water echoed, louder, sharper, until each drop rang like a bell in your skull. A voice rose from the fountain, soft and sweet, like honey poured into your ears. "Tell me what you've never told anyone, and you may pass." The boy's hand shot out, grabbing your sleeve. "Don't. It's never satisfied with just secrets. It takes the weight of them, the shape of them, until you're lighter and emptier." The fountain chuckled, the sound bubbling like water boiling in a pot. "Or," it whispered slyly, "you may keep your secret. But then you stay." You staggered back, heart hammering. The hollow inside you pulsed, hungry for more loss, almost urging you to spill. The boy's grip tightened. His voice was low, strained. "You don't have to give it truth. You can trick it like you tricked the mirror. But if it catches the lie..." The angel's stone face seemed to grin wider. The trickle of water quickened, splashing like laughter. The house was waiting. The fountain's trickle became a steady pour, black water spilling over the cracked basin and crawling toward your shoes. The angel's smile gleamed wetly in the pale light, its hollow eyes fixed on you. "Tell me," the voice coaxed, low and intimate, as if whispered directly into your ear. "Tell me what you've hidden in the quiet of your heart. Tell me what no one else knows. Then you may pass." Your throat tightened. The hollow in you pressed outward, urging surrender. You thought of the mirror, the way you had lied before, how it had worked, but almost undone you. Could you risk that again? The boy tugged your sleeve, whispering fiercely. Don't give it anything true. A secret once told can't be taken back. It'll strip the weight from you until there's nothing left. You stared into the black water. The reflection that looked back was warped, twisted, your face rippling into something older, thinner, almost skeletal. You forced your voice steady. Fine. You want a secret? Here's one. The angel leaned forward slightly, stone grinding faintly. The voice purred. Yes. I once broke a window, you said. When I was a kid. I blamed it on the wind. The silence stretched. The water stilled. Then the fountain laughed, soft at first, then sharper, rising into a shriek that echoed against the chamber walls. The black water surged, wrapping the base of the fountain, spraying upward like claws. A child's trick, it hissed. A hollow morsel. You dare feed me dust? The boy shoved you back. It knows. The angel's grin widened until the stone split, cracks racing across its face. The black water erupted, rushing across the floor in a flood. You scrambled for footing, slipping on the tiles. The boy seized your wrist, dragging you toward a narrow archway on the far side of the chamber. The water clawed at your ankles, cold as ice, pulling you down. Run! He shouted. You lunged forward, heart hammering, dragging him with you. The water snapped at your heels, pulling back only as you stumbled through the archway. The moment you crossed, the floor behind you sealed shut, the sound of rushing water cut off as though it had never been. You collapsed against the wall, chest heaving. The boy crouched beside you, his face pale. You can't lie twice. The house listens harder each time. Next hole, it'll demand more. You pressed your back to the damp stone, trembling. What happens if I tell the truth? He looked away. Then the house owns it. And once it owns it, it never lets it go. You swallowed, staring down the dark passage ahead. Your body ached, your mind felt thinner, stretched by the things you'd already surrendered. The thought of giving more, of peeling back layers until nothing remained, made your stomach twist. The boy's hand found yours again, warmer, firmer than before. We're close, he whispered. But the house will fight hardest near the end. From the darkness ahead, a door creaked open on its own. A faint, golden glow spilled out, warm and inviting. For the first time, the light looked normal, like lamplight in a home, soft and safe. The boy's grip tightened painfully. Don't trust it. Whatever waits in there will look like what you want most. The glow spilled wider as the door swung open, golden light warming the damp stone corridor. It smelled of fresh bread, of coffee just poured, of a summer morning when the world seemed safe. Your knees wobbled. After so long in the pale glow and black water, the light seemed like salvation. The boy yanked your hand hard. Don't go in. But your body betrayed you. Your foot shifted forward. The warmth pulled at your chest like a magnet, tugging against the hollows carved inside you. You peered through the doorway. A kitchen stretched before you, your kitchen, down to the chipped mug on the counter, the faded rug by the sink. A window stood open, curtains swaying in a soft breeze. The sun poured in, bright and clean. And there, your mother. She stood at the counter, humming softly as she poured lemonade into the chipped glass. Her back was to you, her hair catching the light. The sound of her laugh floated across the room, so achingly familiar it stopped your breath. Your throat tightened. The laugh. Her laugh. The thing you had given away. Yet here it was, full and whole, like it had never left you. The boy hissed in your ear. It isn't her. It's the house. Don't listen. But your legs moved forward. One step. Another. The warmth, the smell, the sound, all of it wrapped around you like a blanket, smothering fear, smothering doubt. Your mother turned. Her face was soft, smiling, just as you remembered. She lifted the glass, extending it toward you. Thirsty? Your hand twitched. The boy's nails dug into your wrist. If you take it, you stay here forever? That's the bargain. Your mother's smile faltered. Her eyes glistened as she whispered, Please, don't leave me again. The words split you. Some part of you screamed to run, to listen to the boy, to remember the warnings. But another part, tired, hollow, aching, wanted nothing more than to step into the room, to sit at the table, to let the house close the door and keep you there forever. The boy dragged at your arm, his strength barely holding you back. Choose now! If you hesitate, it will take you! Your mother's laugh rang out again, brighter this time, filling the air like bells. Behind you, the corridor groaned, the walls cracking as though the house leaned closer, listening for your decision. Your mother's smile glowed brighter than the sun through the window. Her outstretched hand trembled just slightly, lemonade in the chipped glass shaking as though it weighed more than stone. The boy's grip dug into your wrist. Don't. It isn't real. But the ache in your chest, the hollow where her laugh once lived, gnawed until you thought it might split you open. You took a step forward. The boy snarled, an animal sound, trying to drag you back. You'll never leave if you cross that threshold. Your foot hit the linoleum. Warmth flooded you instantly. The hollowness dulled. The golden light seeped into your skin, filling cracks you hadn't known were there. See? Your mother said gently, her voice the balm you've been starving for. It's all right now. Sit. Rest. The kitchen table was already set, your favorite dish steaming, silverware polished. A chair pulled itself back, waiting for you. Behind you, the corridor shuddered, crumbling at the edges. The boy's voice grew distant, muffled as if spoken through water. It's a trap. Every comfort here costs you. Please come back. You looked at him. His outline flickered wildly, his form straining against the doorway. The light from the kitchen burned at his edges, peeling him away like smoke. Please, he whispered, almost breaking. Don't leave me alone. Your mother stepped closer, her hand brushing your cheek. Warm. Real. Her eyes shone with love. Stay with me. Don't listen to ghosts. The boy screamed, his voice cracking. That isn't your mother! You staggered, torn between the weight of his plea and the sweetness of her touch. The chair at the table scraped forward invitingly. The boy lunged, throwing his arms around your waist. His voice was frantic, desperate. If you eat, if you drink, the house owns you forever. You'll never leave! Your mother's voice sharpened, though her smile never faltered. Don't you want to be happy? Haven't you suffered enough? The smell of lemonade was sharp and sweet, overwhelming, pulling you deeper. The walls of the corridor cracked further, the house's groans swelling. The choice pressed against your chest, unbearable. Stay, and the hollow would be soothed. Leave, and the ache would never heal. The glass in her hand trembled closer to your lips. The rim of the glass brushed your lower lip. The lemonade scent was intoxicating, bright, sweet, cutting through the rot and mildew the house had buried into your lungs. The warmth of your mother's hand on your cheek made your knees weak. For a heartbeat you thought, let it end here. Let me stay. The boy's cry split the air. No! He hurled himself forward, knocking the glass from your mother's hand. It hit the linoleum with a crystalline scream, liquid spraying across the tiles. But instead of lemonade, black fluid splattered at your feet, hissing where it touched. Your mother's smile froze, then cracked. Her face split down the middle, peeling back like wet paper. Beneath it, no skin, no bone, only a mask of roses, wilted and gray, petals curling into a grin. Her voice warped, doubling, tripling, until it was the chorus of the house itself. You could have been happy. The kitchen walls buckled inward. The window shriveled to black. The rug and table dissolved into sludge. You stumbled back into the boy's arms as the illusion collapsed, the golden light devoured by the pale glow you had come to dread. The figure that wore your mother's face twisted and lengthened, limbs stretching like vines. The roses writhed, shedding petals that smoked as they hit the floor. It rose taller than the doorway, filling the room with its bulk. The boy dragged you backward, voice raw. Run, before it anchors! The thing screeched, and the sound was every voice you had ever loved, all at once. It clawed at the threshold, petals showering around you, trying to drag itself into the corridor. The walls cracked under its weight. The boy shoved you toward the dark passage. His hands burned hot against your back. Go! You stumbled forward. Behind you, the creature's vine arms lashed, one grazing your shoulder. Cold fire seared through your flesh, a mark that spread quickly, veins glowing faintly beneath your skin. The boy yanked you down the corridor, away from the collapsing golden room. The sound of roses tearing, voices screaming, walls breaking, then silence as the door slammed shut on its own, sealing the monster inside. You collapsed against the wall, chest heaving. Your shoulder throbbed where it had touched you, the veins burning faintly with pale light. The boy stared at the mark, his face grave. It touched you. The house has its hook in you now. Your stomach dropped. What does that mean? His eyes were darker than ever, steady and sorrowful. It means the house won't let you leave whole. Even if you find the door out, you'll carry it with you. The corridor narrowed as you stumbled forward, your shoulder burning where the thing's vine had grazed you. The pale veins spread slowly, winding down your arm like cracks in glass. Each pulse of your heartbeat sent a faint glow crawling farther beneath your skin. You rubbed at it desperately, but the glow didn't fade. If anything, it pulsed brighter, sinking with the house's groans in the walls. You felt watched, tethered. The boy walked beside you, his expression grim. The mark is a leash. It keeps you tied to the house, even if you run. That's how it remembers its prey. You hissed through clenched teeth. How do I get rid of it? He shook his head. You don't. You bargain with it. Or you cut deeper. Cut? He looked up at you sharply. If you give it something heavier, something it wants more than your body, it'll loosen the tether. But it never leaves empty-handed. Your steps faltered. The hollows inside you already ached from what you had given. The memory of laughter, the sound of your own name spoken with love. How much more could you lose before you weren't you at all? The boy must have read your hesitation. His small hand brushed yours briefly, grounding you. You're stronger than you think. Most crumble after the first toll. But you're still moving. That matters. The corridor opened into another chamber, smaller than the last. A single chair sat in the center, carved from black wood, its surface polished to a mirror's sheen. The glow of your mark pulsed brighter as you stepped inside. The boy froze. His voice was taut. Don't sit. The chair creaked on its own, as if acknowledging his warning. Then a voice rose from it, your voice, but deeper, soaked in weariness. You're tired. Sit down. Rest. I'll carry the rest of the way. The mark on your arm flared painfully, dragging you forward a step. You clenched your fists. It's me. My voice. How? The boy snapped. It's the hook. The house pulls pieces of you through the tether. Sit, and it'll take the rest. The chair's voice softened, almost pleading. Don't you want to stop fighting? Haven't you given enough? Just rest, and let me finish it for you. Your legs shook. The hollow inside you throbbed, craving the release the chair promised. To let go, to surrender, it was so tempting. The boy grabbed your marked arm, his touch searing hot. His eyes were fierce, older than his face. Don't listen. The more it hurts, the closer you are to the way out. Endure it. The chair creaked louder, impatient. Sit. Or crawl. The mark burned like fire now, veins of light racing toward your chest. You staggered, caught between the promise of relief and the boy's unyielding grip. The burning in your shoulder tore through your chest, each pulse of light a hammer blow against your ribs. The chair's polished surface gleamed hungrily, reflecting you in fragments, one shard showing your face peaceful and calm, another showing it pale and hollow, another showing it gone altogether. Sit, the voice coaxed. Your own voice. You can't carry this weight much longer. Let me. Let us. Your knees buckled. For a heartbeat you swayed toward the chair, the promise of stillness washing over you like cool water. Then the boy yanked you back. His grip on your burning arm was iron, his small frame trembling with the effort. His face was sharp with anger, but his eyes begged. Don't, he said. Just that. A whisper of desperation that sounded older than his years. You met his gaze. The hollows inside you screamed, but his voice, his need, pulled you steadier than the chair's promises. You clenched your fists until your nails cut skin. No! The chair screeched, splitting with a sound like bone breaking. The reflection in its surface convulsed, twisting, then shattered into nothing. The mark on your shoulder flared blindingly bright. Pain ripped through you, so sharp you cried out, but then it dimmed, receding slightly, its grip loosening just enough that you could breathe. The boy let go of your arm at last. His own hands shook, his face pale. You resisted. That's good. The more you refuse, the weaker it holds you. But, he hesitated, his expression clouding. The house doesn't forgive refusals. It will make you pay in other ways. You staggered past the ruined chair, heart pounding, shoulder throbbing. I'm already paying. The corridor beyond the chamber sloped downward, the air colder, damper. Each step echoed too loudly, as if the walls were amplifying your presence. The boy walked at your side, quiet now, his outline steady but his face drawn. Finally, he whispered, "We're nearing the bottom. That's where the house keeps its door." Your pulse leapt. "The way out?" He nodded slowly. "Yes. But it's also where the house is strongest." A draft rose from below, wet, cold, carrying the scent of roses gone black with rot. It coiled around you, almost tender, almost affectionate. The boy shivered. "It knows we're coming." The stairwell yawned beneath you, each step slick with condensation, stone groaning as if reluctant to bear your weight. The boy's hand clung to yours, warm and steady, though his silence pressed heavier than the walls. The draft from below grew colder, sharper, carrying not just rot but something sweet, sugar, cinnamon, baked apples. The scent curled into your lungs, pulling at you with the same treacherous comfort as the golden room. The boy noticed you inhaled too deeply. His voice snapped like a whip. "Don't breathe it in. It feeds on wanting." You exhaled hard, forcing the sweetness out. But already, your stomach ached with hollow hunger, your mind whispering how long it had been since warmth, since food, since safety. The stairs ended in a cavern larger than any room yet. The ceiling stretched high above, lost in shadow. At its center stood a great door, carved from the same black wood as the chair. Roses were etched into its surface, thousands of them, their petals writhing faintly as though alive. The door pulsed. With each beat, the mark on your shoulder throbbed in answer. Your knees weakened. "That's it," you whispered. "That's the way out." The boy's jaw tightened. "Yes. But the door doesn't open to hands. It opens to loss." The roses carved into the wood shivered, whispering with 1,000 tiny voices. "Give! Give! Give!" You shuddered. "What do I have left?" The boy turned to you, his face serious, eyes bottomless. "Enough. But it has to be something final. The door only opens to the thing you hold closest." Your breath hitched. "I've already." He cut you off, stepping closer, his voice almost gentle. "Not enough. Not yet. You've given laughter. You've given love's sound. But there's one piece left. The one that shapes all the rest." You stared at him, horrified. "Myself." The boy nodded once. "Your name. Not just the sound of it. The knowing of it. If you give that, the house will let you leave. But you'll walk out a stranger to yourself." The cavern shook faintly, dust raining from above. The roses on the door writhed louder, voices hissing. "Give! Give! Give!" The boy's hand found yours again. His touch burned hotter now, fueled by the memories you'd surrendered. His face flickered faintly, older, taller, almost grown, but only for a breath before settling back into a child's form. "I'll help you carry it," he whispered. "If you give it, I'll hold it for you. I'll keep your name safe from the house. But you'll have to trust me." The roses moaned. The mark on your shoulder blazed, threads of light crawling across your chest. The house's hunger pressed down, demanding its due. The door pulsed harder. Waiting. The cavern quaked, The roses etched into the door, writhing like a sea of mouths whispering the same word. Give! Your mark blazed white-hot, light crawling across your chest and throat until it felt like your own skin was being peeled away. The boy held tight to your hand, his voice steady but urgent. It has to be your name. The last anchor. If you give it, the door will open. You shook your head, trembling. If I give that, I'll lose myself. His dark eyes locked on yours. Better to lose yourself than lose everything. The house doesn't bargain twice. The roses on the door groaned louder, voices multiplying until they filled the cavern. They called to you in every voice you had ever loved, your mother, your first friend, strangers who had spoken your name in passing. All gone, now turned to one demand. Give! Tears burned your eyes. What happens if I forget who I am? The boy stepped closer, pressing his palm against your chest, right over the burning mark. Then I'll remember for you. I'll keep it safe. I'll speak it back to you, someday, somewhere the house can't hear. You stared at him. His outline flickered again, taller for a moment, shadows of someone older, someone whole. Maybe he wasn't a child at all. Maybe he was something carved from the house itself, kept small until your gifts fed him. Still, his voice trembled as he whispered, Trust me, or stay here forever. The mark seared your throat now, the house clawing for the word it craved. The door pulsed, glowing faintly with each beat, roses curling inward like fists. Your breath came ragged. You opened your mouth and spoke your name. The sound tore from you like a wound, ripped raw, leaving silence in its place. The instant it left your lips, you felt the hollow expand, vast and endless, consuming every shape of identity you'd ever carried. The knowledge of who you were slipped through your fingers like smoke, dissolving into nothing. The boy gasped. His outline flared bright, solid, stronger than ever, as if your name poured into him. His small hands shook as he clutched yours tighter. I've got it, he whispered fiercely. I'll keep it. I promise. The roses on the door shrieked, then split apart, peeling back like flesh. The black would crack down the center, spilling golden light into the cavern. A rush of air blasted outward, rain, night, the smell of wet earth and trees. The way out. The boy dragged you forward. Go! You stumbled into the light, blinded, heart hollow. The cavern roared behind you, voices screaming in rage. And then, silence. The rain hit your face. Cold, real, steady. You stood on Blackwood Lane once more, the house behind you dark and still, its windows blind. The door was closed. The boy stood beside you, breathing hard, his outline steady in the rain. He looked up at you, eyes shining, and whispered your name. But you didn't recognize it. Rain washed over you, cold needles prickling your skin, grounding you in a world that suddenly felt alien. The streetlights glowed faintly through the downpour. Cars sat parked along the lane. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked, mundane sounds, ordinary life. And yet none of it fit. You stood barefoot on the slick pavement, staring blankly at the house you just fled. Its windows were dark, its walls still, but you felt it watching, its silence thick with promise. The boy stood beside you, steady under the rain. His hand tightened around yours. You made it, he said softly. Then he spoke again, your name. But the words slipped past you like foreign syllables. It meant nothing. No warmth, no anchor, no you. Your stomach twisted. That's mine? The boy nodded. It's yours. You gave it. I carry it now. If I speak it, I keep it alive. You shuddered, hollow to the core. Then who am I? His gaze didn't waver. You're the one who left. That's enough, for now. You wanted to protest, to scream, to claw your way back to yourself, but the hollowness swallowed the impulse. Every attempt to think of who you had been ended in a blank wall. No name. No anchor. Just the weight of what was gone. The boy stepped closer, his voice low, urgent. The house will hunt you. Even here. It always does. That mark on your shoulder, it's still burning, isn't it? You touched the spot. The veins glowed faintly beneath your skin, light pulsing in rhythm with the rain. You nodded. He continued, "Then you're not finished. You may have stepped outside, but you haven't escaped. Not fully." Lightning split the sky. For a brief moment, the house behind you flashed stark and sharp, its silhouette taller than before, its roof line twisted into a new shape. When the thunder rolled, you swore you heard laughter carried in the sound. The boy met your eyes. For the first time, you realized he looked older than he had inside. Taller by an inch, features sharper, his voice stronger. Carrying your name had changed him. "Listen," he said. "We can walk away now. We can keep running until the tether pulls you back. Or," he turned, staring at the house, rain dripping from his hair, "we go back in. End it before it ends you." The mark flared hotter, searing your veins. The hollowness pressed wider inside your chest. You realized with a sinking certainty, the house wasn't finished. You staggered down Blackwood Lane, rain soaking your skin, shoes slapping against slick pavement. The boy kept pace beside you, silent, his outline too steady for a child in a storm. The ordinary world blurred around you, streetlights flickering, cars gleaming with wet glass, windows glowing faintly with families inside. It all looked familiar, but without your name, it felt like a stage set. Hollow. You could no longer imagine yourself belonging to any of it. The mark on your shoulder pulsed harder, light spreading across your chest. Each beat tugged at you, backward, toward the crooked silhouette of the house. The pull was gentle at first, like a string tied to your ribs. But with every step you took away, the string grew tauter, sharper, dragging you with invisible hooks. You doubled over, clutching your chest. "It's pulling me." The boy's hand clamped your arm. "I told you. The tether doesn't break. It waits. The farther you go, the tighter it pulls." You gasped through gritted teeth. "Then what? What do I do?" Rain plastered his hair to his forehead. His face was pale, older again in the lightning's flash. "You can run, but it will drag you back in time. Or," he turned his gaze toward the house, its shadow looming taller in the storm, "we can go back on our own terms. Face it. Take control before it takes you." The mark flared, white-hot. You cried out, stumbling to your knees on the slick pavement. For one horrifying instant, your vision split. You were kneeling in the street and standing once more in the hallway of roses, the house's walls whispering your stolen laughter. The double image blurred, dizzying, until the boy shook you violently back to yourself. "You don't have long," he hissed. "The tether's tightening. Soon it won't ask, it will drag." You stared at him through the rain, fear hollowing your chest. "And if we go back?" His voice was flat, steady. "Then we end it. Or we don't come out at all." Thunder cracked above, and the rain turned colder, almost sharp. Behind you, the house's windows lit faintly, one by one, like eyes opening in the dark. Each beam of pale light stabbed outward, searching. The boy squeezed your hand, harder than ever before. His grip was hot, steady, anchoring. "Choose," he whispered. "Run and be hunted. Or walk back and fight." Your mark throbbed, veins glowing brighter than the lightning. The house waited. You rose unsteadily, rain streaming down your face, the boy's grip hot on your wrist. The mark seared your chest, each pulse dragging harder toward the house. Every instinct screamed to run, but you already knew the truth. The house would pull you back no matter how far you fled. Your voice cracked, barely audible against the storm. "We go back." The boy nodded once. No relief showed on his face, only grim certainty. "Then walk forward. Don't let it think it's won." The house loomed closer with every step, its roofline shifting subtly in the lightning, growing taller, leaning forward like a predator eager to receive you. Its door was shut dark, but as you approached, the mark on your shoulder flared. The door sighed open, no hand touching it, no hinges creaking. It had been waiting. Inside was silence. No whisper of rain, no rustle of storm. The air was thick, still, scented faintly of roses and rot. The entry hall stretched longer now, warped, as though the house had grown in your absence. The boy stepped past the threshold first, his hand never leaving yours. It wants you to kneel. Don't. Whatever you do, don't. The door slammed behind you, sealing you in. The glow that once came from sconces now bled from the walls themselves, veins of pale light threading through the wallpaper like roots. They pulsed in rhythm with your mark. The boy glanced at it and frowned. It's stronger now. It's feeding on you. You staggered. Then where do we go? He pointed upward. The staircase had changed. It rose impossibly high, spiraling into blackness. The banister gleamed slick as bone. The heart, he said softly. We climb to the very top. That's where it waits. Your stomach clenched. What waits? He met your eyes, dark and unwavering. The house itself. The first reflection. The mouth that swallows. You hesitated at the foot of the stairs, staring up into endless dark. Behind you, the hall whispered, doors rattling, unseen hands knocking softly, voices calling your stolen name. The sound made you shiver. It no longer belonged to you, and yet it dragged at your bones. The boy tugged your hand. Up. Before it decides for us. Together you set your foot on the first step. The staircase groaned under your weight, and the walls leaned closer. The climb had begun. The staircase rose into shadow, its spiral narrowing as you climbed. Each step groaned like a sigh, wood bending under your weight though it never broke. The banister was slick, wet as if freshly polished with something darker than oil. The boy's hand never left yours. His small palm felt impossibly steady, but his breathing had grown shallow. You wondered if carrying your name weighed on him as much as losing it hollowed you. After what felt like hours, you reached the first landing. A door stood there, tall, black, carved with roses like those on the great door below. It rattled softly, as if something inside pressed against it. You froze. The boy tugged your sleeve, shaking his head. Don't open it. Every landing has a door. They're offerings. Distractions. The house will try to make you stop climbing. But the whispers seeped through the wood anyway. This time it wasn't strangers. It was your voice, clear, steady, filled with certainty you no longer felt. You don't have to fight. You don't have to lose more. Open the door, and I'll take your place. Your legs buckled. The thought of letting yourself rest, handing the burden to that confident voice, gnawed at you. The boy pulled harder. Ignore it! You forced your gaze up the spiral. The steps above shimmered faintly, as though they were further away than they should be. Your chest ached. But you climbed. The second landing came sooner. Another door waited, this one cracked open. Pale light spilled through the gap. Inside, you glimpsed a table set with food, bread, meat, steaming cups of broth. The smell made your stomach twist with hunger. Your legs moved without thought, drawn to the warmth. The boy shoved himself between you and the door. No. If you eat, you stay. Forever. You swallowed hard, stomach growling, and forced yourself onward. The third landing. This time, no door. Just a mirror nailed to the wall. Its surface rippled, and your reflection stared back. Hollow-eyed, marked shoulder glowing. Behind it, shadows moved, dozens of figures crowding close, all whispering your lost name. Your reflection pressed its hand against the glass. Come back, it begged. Don't let him carry you. Don't trust him. He's stealing more than you gave. Your eyes snapped to the boy. His face was pale, unreadable, but he tugged your hand again, urgently. Don't listen. Keep climbing. You tore yourself away from the mirror. The whispers followed, louder, as if disappointed. The staircase groaned, steps narrowing, banister trembling. The boy's grip steadied you as you climbed higher, each landing testing your will. At last, the spiral ended in a vast platform. Above it loomed a door larger than any you had seen, carved entirely of roses, their petals writhing faintly. The mark on your shoulder blazed so hot you nearly collapsed. The boy released your hand, his eyes fixed on the door. This is it. The heart. The platform shuddered beneath your feet, dust sifting from the unseen ceiling high above. The roses carved into the massive door writhed in slow, deliberate waves, their stone petals curling inward and unfurling as though breathing. Each breath dragged the air out of your lungs, leaving you lightheaded. The mark on your shoulder blazed hotter with every pulse from the door, veins of pale light crawling across your chest and neck. The boy stood beside you, his outline sharp, almost too steady now. He stared at the door as though he'd been here before. You steadied your breath. This is it, isn't it? The end. His dark eyes flicked to you, unreadable. The heart of the house. The first mouth. If we open it, you'll see what it really is. Your throat tightened. And if I don't? The roses hissed softly, 1,000 whispering voices overlapping into a single word. Stay. The boy stepped closer to the door, lifting his small hand to trace one of the curling petals. His fingers burned faintly against the stone, leaving black scorch marks that faded as quickly as they appeared. It won't wait. Either you face it, or it will come to you. Stronger. You hesitated, staring at him. You sound like you've done this before. For the first time, he flinched. His shoulders hunched slightly, and his voice came low, almost ashamed. I've climbed this stair more times than I can count. Others before you, they couldn't make it this far. They gave too much too soon. The truth landed heavy in your chest. So I'm not the first. He shook his head slowly. But you might be the last. Lightning split somewhere beyond the house's walls, the thunder rolling through the platform as though the storm itself bent around this place. You swallowed hard, the hollows inside you yawning wide. What happens when I step through? The boy's gaze was fierce now, unwavering. The house will show you its core. It will ask for the final price. If you can refuse it, if you can deny its hunger, you might walk free. And if I can't? His lips pressed in. Then it keeps you. Forever. And I keep your name until it burns out of me too. The roses hissed louder, their whispers drilling into your ears, tugging at the spaces where your laughter and your name had once been. The door pulsed again, bright and hungry, demanding. The boy reached for your hand one last time. His grip was scorching hot now, as though fire lived under his skin. Don't let it trick you. Don't let it take more. You've given enough. The mark seared across your body. The door shuddered, splitting faintly down the middle. It was waiting. The split in the door widened with a wet groan, stone roses curling back to reveal a seam of light. It wasn't golden, or pale, or familiar. It was a shifting glow, colors bleeding into one another, restless and alive. The boy's grip on your hand tightened until it hurt. Once it opens, there's no turning back. You swallowed hard, the hollow inside you yawning wider with every breath. Then we end it. Together you stepped through. The door sealed behind you with a sound like 1,000 petals snapping shut. The chamber beyond was endless. The floor beneath you was not stone or wood but a mirror stretched to infinity, each step rippling as though you walked on shallow water. Above you loomed nothing, only black sky, threaded faintly with veins of pale light that pulsed in rhythm with the mark on your shoulder. At the center of the chamber stood a figure. It was tall, taller than the boy, taller than the attic prisoner, taller even than the house itself had seemed. Its body was made of shifting reflections, fractured images of you, every version of yourself you'd glimpsed in mirrors along the way. Smiling, hollow, begging, furious. They all moved at once, speaking in unison. You came back. Your knees buckled, the sound of your own voice multiplied into a chorus. What are you? The figure tilted its many heads. We are the house. The echo of every name, every laugh, every secret ever given. We are hunger. And you are ours. The mark seared across your chest, dragging you forward. The boy caught your arm, his voice sharp. Don't step closer. The figure's fractured faces softened, shifting into ones you knew, your mother, your friends, strangers you half remembered. They smiled, reaching out. You've already given so much. Just one more piece, and you can rest. Your heart hammered. What piece? The figure leaned closer. Its many mouths whispered in perfect harmony. Hope. Give us your hope. Walk out empty, and never ache again. The boy snarled, stepping in front of you. His voice rang stronger than ever. Don't! If you give it hope, you'll never fight free. You'll live, but you'll never live. The reflections shifted again, dozens of your own faces sneering. And what has he taken? He holds your name. He feeds on you too. You froze, staring at the boy. His hand still clutched yours, steady, but his outline flickered faintly, older again, sharper, filled with strength that wasn't his alone. The figure's voices pressed closer, filling your skull. He isn't saving you. He is becoming you. The boy met your gaze, defiant. Don't listen. It lies. The house's heart pulsed, waiting. The hollow in your chest screamed for release. One more piece. One final choice. The figure's chorus flooded your mind like cold water, voices that tasted like memory and iron, promising release if you simply let go. Give us hope. Give us the last bright thing. Let your chest be hollow and soft, and we will let you drift. Something in your gut, a small, stubborn flicker that hadn't gone out even after so many losses, coiled and answered, though you couldn't have said why it remained. Maybe it was the boy's hand in yours. Maybe it was the raw, aching knowledge that a life without wanting was no life at all. No, the single word felt tiny and monstrous against the weight of 1,000 mouths. Still, it left your lips like a blade. The reflections laughed, soft at first, then sharp, the sound like glass grinding on glass. You refuse. Then be taken. They sang. The hollow inside you screamed, urging capitulation. The figure leaned forward, and in the fractured faces of yourself it wore your mother's eyes, your childhood grin, the exact tilt of your own jaw. We can make it painless, they coaxed. Give us the shape of wanting and the ache will cease. The boy's grip tightened until his knuckles blanched. He spoke then, not pleading but commanding, his voice the opposite of what his small body suggested. You are not a thing to be shelved. Stand. He pressed the thing you had given him, your name, into his palms and shouted it. Not a whisper now, but a bell. The syllables hit the mirrored floor and rang up through the chamber like a thread pulled taut. For an instant the voices faltered, caught on the sound. The boy's figure surged, steadier than before. The glow beneath his skin flared brighter. You kept it, you said, surprise and a hunger you couldn't name in your voice. I kept it, he answered. And I will use it. But names can awaken things, and they can burn them away. He looked at you, softer, fiercer. Hold on to me. The house's mouth widened. From the mirrored floor, thousands of tiny reflections rose like mist, each one a shard of the selves the house had stolen. They clawed at you with hands made of half-memories. The mark on your shoulder screamed as if it could feel the pull of 1,000 small fingers. You had the key. It still burned in your pocket, a hot, carved rose. The urge to jam it into the floor and pry the mirror apart was animal and immediate. If the mirror had been the vessel before, perhaps now it could again be the fulcrum. Put your hand on the floor, the boy ordered. His voice was both child and captain. Speak the name after me. Make it more than sound. Make it mean you. You sank to your knees on the mirror surface, feeling the ripples under your palms. The reflections writhed, recoiling as if scenting smoke. The boy placed your name into your mouth as if offering bread. You tasted it whole, honest and strange. He spoke it then with ownership, with memory, each syllable threaded through the air and struck the surface like lightning. You followed, answering his tone with your own voice, not the hollowed echo you'd felt for weeks but something real and ragged, the sound of a person reclaiming a shape. The chamber vibrated. The fractured faces in the figure twisted, losing their pleasant illusions, their borrowed warmth. For a heartbeat, the house seemed unsure, like an animal startled. Now! The boy shouted. You drew the key from your pocket and struck the mirror floor where the boy's voice still rang. Metal met glass. The carved rose bit into the surface. The key sank a fraction, then another, as if the mirror took it willingly. Light erupted, white, sharp, not the house's pale glow but something clean and true. The fractures raced outward from the key in a bloom of sound that was almost a scream. The reflections howled. The figure's many mouths peeled open as the sound of your name unspooled across the chamber, stubborn and bright. It clawed at the air, trying to keep the echoes from spreading, but names are stubborn things. they claimed space. Each time the boy spoke your name back into the room, a section of the house's mouth withered, petals curling, voices snapping silent. Then the cost appeared. Where the key met the mirror, the surface fogged like breath on glass. A shape pushed through, not a face this time, but the boy, only he did not thicken into ordinary flesh. He brightened, and the stolen name poured into him and made him whole for an instant, taller, older, real. For the first time since you met him, he looked like someone who had lived. And then he began to change. Light drew from his edges, not gently but like fingers peeling paper. The mark on your shoulder flared as if trying to swallow whatever was being given. The boy's hand clenched yours until you tasted metal, and he smiled, an expression so full of grief and triumph that your heart broke inside your hollow chest. "Remember it," he said, voice thin and bright. "Keep it safe. Keep being you." You tried to tell him to stop, to take the name back, to hold on to yourself instead. But he was already dissolving, part reflection, part light, part memory unfurling into the key and the crack that ran through the chamber. The name he had kept for you sank into him, and then through him, like a lantern being passed. It pulsed along the fractures and burst outward, a sound that cleansed rather than consumed. The figure that was the house shrieked. The mirrored floor buckled, and the great form at the center convulsed as petals of stone fell away in clumps. The echoes of faces tangled and snapped like thread. For an instant the chamber was a chaos of falling glass and sunlight, of the house warring with a word. When the dust settled, the key lay hot and smoking in the groove it had made. The fractures spidered outward but did not reconnect. Where the boy had been, there was now only a small bright point, an ember of something that pulsed in time with your regained knowledge. He had given more than you expected. He had taken, with the name, a portion of the house's claim, and with the price, his own continuity. You were left kneeling on the cracked mirror with your palms bloody from the impact. Your chest felt raw and hollow, but not empty the way it had been. The name returned to you differently, not like a recalled fact but like a small, warm thing someone had placed in your hands. You could feel its edges. You could say it aloud and feel it anchor. You looked for the boy. He sat on the fractured floor a short distance away, no longer a small child, but a figure thinning at the edges, translucent in places like smoke. He smiled, ragged and proud. "You did it," he whispered. "You refused." "Where are you?" you asked, voice almost nothing. His outline flickered. "Somewhere else where names live better. You gave me a life for a moment. I gave you back a way to walk." Tears came then, hot, real. They didn't always wash away what had been lost, but they cut through the numbness. The house breathed around you, wounded and furious, far larger than the two of you, but the heart of it had been cracked. The pulses of light that had fed the mark on your skin pulsed more slowly now, then faded to a dull ember. Your mark cooled a degree. The veins under your skin dulled. The boy's voice thinned. "I can't stay. Not like before." He laughed softly, oddly content. "Keep your name safe. Say it when the dark gets loud." You crawled to him, pressing your forehead to his like a vow. "Thank you," you said, the words small and huge at once. He squeezed your hand until he could no longer form the gesture. "Go," he said, "before it heals." You rose shakily. The mirrored floor groaned under the new fractures, but a path had opened toward the doorway, a jagged, uneven line that led upward. Behind you, the house's many mouths muttered and seethed, but their voices were thinner now. You could feel the tether slackening, not gone but loosened. As you climbed, the boy's ember voice echoed once more, not from the floor but from somewhere like a pocket in your chest. He said your name, the true sound this time, and it fit. You felt the anchor settle, not as weight but as belonging. Outside, rain still fell. The house's outline watched you leave like an animal eyeing prey, but it did not rise to follow. The tether tugged once more, sharp, then a long, strange ache, and then it was only memory, something you carried inside you rather than under your skin. You stepped into the night. The boy's light winked out behind you like a small star burning down. You did not look back until you reached the street and the ordinary world folded itself around you, wet pavement, distant traffic, a neighbor's window bright with a late-night television glow. You whispered your name quietly to yourself, and it answered you back, not perfectly whole, but present. The price had been paid. The barnacled house on Blackwood Lane had been wounded, perhaps not destroyed, but its appetite had been checked. The boy had given you the impossible gift of a moment of life in exchange for something of his own. As you walked under the rain, you felt the hollow still there, an old ache that would take time to stitch, but it no longer defined you. Hope, brittle and trembling, returned like a slow warming in cold water. And far behind, in the dark where the house watched, something moved in the shadows, patient, waiting, and not fully sated. The work was not finished. But for now, you had a name again, and a way forward. Rain slicked your hair to your forehead as you walked, shoes squelching against the pavement. Every sound felt too sharp, the patter of drops, the hiss of tires on distant asphalt, even your own breathing. You whispered your name again, testing it on your tongue, steadying yourself with the sound. It was yours, fragile, scarred, but intact. Still, the hollow throbbed. The laugh was gone. The way a loved one said your name was gone. You remembered them as outlines, as shapes, but the warmth had bled away. And though the tether's burn had cooled, you could still feel the faintest tug, a thread pulling deep inside your chest like fishing line. You stopped beneath a street lamp, the light buzzing overhead. The house's silhouette loomed at the end of the lane, smaller now, but not vanished. Its windows were dark, yet you felt them fixed on your back. Watching. Waiting. You shivered and turned away. The boy's ember voice pulsed faintly inside you, like a coal wrapped in cloth. "Say it again," he whispered. Not demanding, but gentle. You obeyed, speaking your name aloud once more. The street lamp flickered, the tug in your chest loosening. He was still with you, in some form. Whether that comforted or frightened you, you couldn't yet tell. You reached the corner of the lane. Ahead, the ordinary world stretched, rows of houses with sleeping families, the glow of shops in the distance, the wet gleam of cars parked neatly in driveways. But as you stepped closer, you saw how unreal it all seemed. The paint too smooth. The curtains too still. A faint haze lay over the scene, like breath on glass. Your stomach clenched. Was this truly the outside? Or had the house spun another illusion, subtler than the golden room? You touched the mark on your shoulder. It was only a faint ache now, but as your fingers pressed against it, the air shimmered at the edges of your vision. For a second, the street warped, houses bending like paper, trees bleeding into shadow. Then it snapped back. You whispered, "Am I really out?" The boy's ember voice answered softly, "For now. But the thread remains. You tore free, but the house doesn't cut its lines so easily. It can tug again, tomorrow or years from now. If you let yourself grow hollow again, it will find the space." You stood frozen at the corner, the rain cooling on your skin. You realized then that survival wasn't escape. The house lingered in you, as much as you lingered in it. Behind you, Blackwood Lane was silent. No laughter, no whispers. But the shadows at the edge of the streetlight stretched just a little too far, curling toward your shoes. The boy's voice urged, firmer now. "Keep moving. Keep speaking your name. As long as you do, it cannot claim you." You drew in a breath, heavy with rain and the scent of roses carried faintly on the wind. And you stepped forward, deeper into the night. The city lay ahead, lights winking through the rain, traffic sighing on slick roads. You walked toward it, whispering your name under your breath like a prayer. Each repetition steadied you, kept the thread from tightening in your chest. By the time you reached the first open shop, a gas station, its windows fogged with fluorescent glare, you felt dizzy with exhaustion. The warmth inside should have been comforting. But when the clerk at the counter looked up and asked, "Name for the receipt?" your stomach lurched. The sound of your name rose unbidden to your lips, but when you said it, it felt wrong. Like a borrowed word. The clerk smiled anyway, tapping the keys. He heard it. He believed it. But inside, you felt like a fraud. The boy's ember voice whispered in your chest, "It fits. Keep wearing it. In time, It will be yours again. You bought a coffee, though your hands shook too much to sip it. Leaving the store, you caught your reflection in the rain-streaked glass door. For a moment it looked normal, tired, pale, soaked to the skin. But then the surface rippled, and your mirrored self grinned, lips curling wider than they should. You stumbled back. The boy's voice sharpened. Ignore it. Reflections are its easiest doors. The glass settled, showing only you again. Ordinary. Hollow-eyed, but ordinary. Days passed. You tried to move back into life. Alarm clocks, groceries, emails. People called your name and you answered, smiling where expected, nodding when required. But each time, a sliver of doubt cut you. Was it truly yours? Or only the sound the boy had returned to you? At night you dreamed of roses. Petals pressed against your mouth, your ears, whispering secrets you didn't want to know. Sometimes you woke with the taste of soil on your tongue. The mark on your shoulder dimmed, but never fully vanished. When you pressed it in the dark, faint warmth pulsed under your skin. And always, faintly, you heard the boy. Sometimes steady, sometimes flickering like a candle in a draft. Keep speaking it. Don't forget. One evening, as you walked home, you caught sight of yourself in a shop window. This time, your reflection didn't grin. It only raised its hand slowly and pointed behind you. You turned. At the far end of the street, in the blur of rain and night, a house stood where no house should be. Crooked roof. Tall windows. Roses crawling across its walls. The boy's voice shivered inside you, urgent and low. It isn't finished. The tether pulled, gentle, insistent. You froze beneath the streetlight, rain dripping off your chin. The house should not have been there, not blocks away from Blackwood Lane, not stitched into the quiet grid of shops and apartments. And yet there it stood, squat and tall all at once, its windows gleaming faintly like eyes catching firelight. Roses crawled up its walls, blooming black in the storm. The tether inside your chest thrummed. Not sharp, not dragging, inviting. The boy's ember voice flickered, his words wrapped in strain. It has moved. It followed. It doesn't want to lose you. You whispered back, your breath fogging in the rain. Then there's no escape. There's an ending, the boy corrected. Not escape. Endings are all it understands. Your legs carried you forward before you could think, shoes splashing through puddles, eyes fixed on the crooked silhouette. With each step, the world around you dimmed, shop lights fading, traffic sounds thinning, the ordinary city peeling away like damp wallpaper. Only the house remained, filling the street until you could see nothing else. The front door swung wide as you approached, a sigh of welcome, or triumph. You paused at the threshold. The rain stopped here, cut cleanly at the edge of the porch. Inside was dry still, heavy with the scent of roses. The boy's voice grew quieter, distant, as though muffled by walls. Once you step inside, it will close. This time, it won't let you out until one of you ends. Your hand touched the mark on your shoulder. It burned faintly, no longer pain but a reminder. The hook was still there. Maybe it always would be. Your name rose in your throat unbidden. You whispered it aloud, and the house shuddered faintly, as though the sound cut it. The boy's ember flared warmer. Good. Keep it ready. A name is a blade now, and you have one chance to use it. The door yawned wider, roses writhing around the frame, petals shivering. From deep inside came the sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate, echoing as if the house itself was walking toward you. You tightened your grip on the rose key in your pocket, its carved petals hot against your palm. Then you stepped inside. The door slammed shut behind you. The entry hall stretched impossibly long, darker than you remembered. The sconces that once guttered pale glows now burned with steady white fire, each flame frozen in place, casting shadows that didn't move when you did. The air pressed down, thick, heavy, carrying the scent of roses so strong it made your throat close. Then you heard it, the footsteps. Not hurried. Not hunting. Each one deliberate, echoing off the hall as if struck from stone. The sound came from everywhere and nowhere, shaking the floorboards beneath your feet. The boy's ember flickered hot in your chest. It's here. It's walking. This is the house without walls. You clutched the rose key until the edges bit into your palm. Where? You whispered. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Then, at the far end of the hall, the shadows bent and peeled back. Something stepped forward. It wore no fixed face. Its body was built of shifting fragments. Your reflection from the mirror, your mother's smile, the boy's outline, strangers you'd seen once and forgotten. They folded into one another with every movement, a living collage of everyone the house had ever swallowed. Its head tilted, and dozens of mouths moved at once, speaking in perfect unison. You cannot leave what you are part of. The mark on your shoulder burned, a leash yanking tight. You staggered, dragged half a step toward it. The boy's ember flared, his voice sharp and urgent. Say it, your name! Now! You opened your mouth, but your throat locked. The hollow inside you roared, every loss clawing at your will. The laugh, the way your name once sounded, the secrets you had never shared. The figure stepped closer, each stride bending the hall. Its many faces smiled. You've given us all but one. Give hope, and you will rest. Your knees buckled. The boy's ember burned painfully in your chest. Don't give it! Speak yourself! Strike with what it hates! The rose key pulsed hot in your palm, searing, urging. The house's hunger stood before you now, arms outstretched, shadows trembling at its edges. Its mouths opened wide, and in all your voices it whispered, Surrender! The thing of faces loomed over you, every mouth open in perfect harmony, whispering the same word, Surrender! The hall swelled with light, golden this time, warm, the kind that made your chest ache with longing. The shadows bent into shapes, and suddenly you weren't in the hall at all. You stood in a living room, your living room. The one from years ago, soft with clutter and comfort. The couch sagged in its familiar way. A lamp hummed. Rain tapped against the window, but inside it was warm, safe. On the table sat the chipped mug. Steam curled from it, smelling of tea. Your mother's laugh drifted in from the kitchen. Your body shook. The hollowness inside you strained, reaching, begging to step forward. To sit. To belong again. The boy's ember seared in your chest, a sharp burn that cut through the haze. His voice broke through the illusion, ragged and raw. It's lying. It's only painting your hunger on its walls. But the house pressed harder. The warmth grew, thick and heavy, wrapping your limbs. From the kitchen, your mother's voice called your name, your true name, spoken as it had once been, full of love. The sound cracked you open. Your knees wavered. It's her, you whispered. It sounds like her. The boy shouted, his voice fierce. No! It only stole what you gave away. She's gone. This is a mask, nothing more. The golden glow brightened, and your mother stepped into the room. Not roses this time, not distortion. Her face was whole, kind, so heartbreakingly real that your chest caved. She held out her arms. You've fought long enough, she said gently. Come home. Rest. The rose key pulsed like fire in your palm, the heat almost unbearable. The mark on your shoulder seared, pulling you toward her. The boy's ember voice cracked, almost breaking. Say your name. Cut it open. Do it now before it swallows you whole. You stood between two worlds, the warmth of false peace, or the searing blade of truth. Your mother's arms opened wider, her smile trembling with tenderness. The chipped mug steamed on the table, the smell of lemon and sugar sharp enough to draw tears. The hollowness inside you surged, desperate to fill itself, desperate to believe. The boy's ember burned hotter, his voice cracking through the haze. Don't let it use her. Don't let it take you with her face. The illusion pressed closer, the warmth nearly crushing. Your mother whispered your name again, perfect, whole, spoken with love. It shattered you, a blade through every defense. You dropped to your knees, trembling, tears hot on your cheeks. The rose key seared in your palm, begging to be used. The boy screamed in your chest. Say it! Strike! With the last of your strength, you dragged air into your lungs. The house had stolen so much, but it hadn't taken your voice. Not yet. You screamed your name. The words split the room like thunder. The illusion cracked. The chipped mug exploded, tea spilling black across the floor. Your mother's form froze, her smile shattering into a jagged mask of roses. The warmth evaporated, replaced with cold so sharp it burned. The thing of faces howled, every mouth screaming at once. The hall snapped back around you, trembling with fury. The figure loomed closer, arms reaching, its fractured body splitting open to swallow you whole. You staggered to your feet, clutching the rose key. It blazed red-hot now, petals glowing. The boy's ember flared in rhythm, his voice steady despite the roar. Now! Drive it into the heart! The mark on your shoulder blazed white, chains of light yanking you toward the figure. You fought against it, screaming your name again and again, each repetition cutting through the whispers like a blade. The figure reeled, its many mouths stuttering, faltering. For the first time, the house's hunger looked unsteady. Vulnerable. You raised the key high. And with every shred of yourself that remained, you drove it forward. The rose key blazed in your grip, metal glowing red, petals bright as embers torn from a furnace. You thrust it forward, your scream carrying your name like a spear. The figure convulsed. Its many mouths shrieked, the sound rattling the very boards beneath your feet. The shifting faces melted, sliding into one another, your mother, the boy, strangers you'd glimpsed only once, all twisting in panic as the key neared. Chains of light shot from your mark, trying to drag you backward, to pull the weapon from your grasp. Your arms shook, muscles straining as the tether yanked. For a terrible moment, the key hovered inches from the figure's chest, the mark pulling harder, harder. Then the boy's ember flared, searing through you. His voice was a roar inside your chest. It does not own you! Say it again! You screamed your name. The tether snapped. The chains dissolved into sparks, and the key sank deep into the figure's chest. The explosion was blinding. Light tore outward in a wave, shards of reflection flying like glass across the hall. Every mouth on the figure howled, faces stretching and collapsing, voices unraveling into static. The roses carved into the walls blackened and fell, petals turning to ash before they touched the ground. The figure staggered, clutching at the key buried in its heart. It tried to speak, but the voices faltered, breaking into desperate fragments. Give! Hope! Stay! You wrenched the key deeper. No! The figure split down the middle. From the wound spilled not blood, not shadow, but memories, laughter, names, voices, secrets. They poured out like a river of light, rushing past you, dissolving into the air. Some brushed against your skin, warm and fleeting, before vanishing forever. The hall shook violently. The ceiling split, beams cracking, the floor tilting beneath your feet. The house screamed, not through mouths or whispers, but through every nail, every board, every stone. A death cry. The boy's ember burned brighter than ever, his voice steady, calm. It's ending. Hold on. The figure collapsed, its fractured body shattering into dust. The key clattered to the floor, still glowing faintly, petals smoldering. And then, the house began to fall. The hall buckled, floorboards splitting open as the house's scream roared through your bones. Walls peeled inward, wallpaper writhing like skin, roses shriveling into black ash. The ceiling sagged, then cracked, raining plaster and splinters. The boy's ember blazed hot in your chest, steadying you as the floor tilted beneath your feet. Move! It's tearing itself apart! You snatched the rose key from the rubble. It seared your palm, but you clung to it anyway. The mark on your shoulder dimmed, threads of light snapping one by one, the tether breaking with each violent quake. You ran, stumbling down the collapsing hall. Doorways yawned open on either side, each one filled with screams, laughter, and pale hands clawing to drag you in. You shoved past them, ignoring the pull, the boy's voice anchoring you. Don't stop! Forward! The stairs appeared ahead, spiraling downward, swaying as the house convulsed. You hurled yourself onto them, sliding as steps cracked away into blackness. The boy's ember flared, pushing you upright. You sprinted downward, the banister snapping behind you, the air filled with dust and roses burning to smoke. The front door glowed faintly at the bottom. Real light, cold, clean, rain-washed. You lunged toward it as the hall warped around you, shrinking, twisting, trying to seal itself shut. "It doesn't want to let go!" the boy shouted. "Force it!" You slammed the rose key into the door's lock. It sank in with a hiss, the carved petals flaring bright. The door screamed like a living thing as it burst open, golden light flooding the hall. You stumbled through. Behind you, the house folded inward, walls crushing into themselves, roof imploding. Windows shattered, glass flying outward only to dissolve midair. The last sound it made was a long, shuddering sigh, like breath finally exhaled after centuries. And then, it was gone. Only rain fell. You stood in the middle of Blackwood Lane, the pavement wet beneath your feet. No house. No roses. Just an empty lot where it had stood, earth scorched and steaming. The boy's ember flickered weakly in your chest. His voice was quiet now, thin as thread. "It's over." You clutched the key, still warm in your hand. "Are you still here?" There was a pause. Then softly, "For now. But endings have their price." The ember dimmed. You whispered your name into the rain, steady and whole, and the world did not shatter. The tether was gone. You were free. But you were not alone. The rain slicked across your face, cold and clean. For the first time since you stepped through the crooked doorway of the house, you breathed without weight pressing down on your chest. The tether was gone. The mark on your shoulder had cooled, leaving only a faint scar traced with pale veins, like roots burned into your skin. The lot where the house had stood steamed faintly, soil blackened and cracked. No rubble remained, no shattered wood or broken glass. Just emptiness, as if the house had folded neatly into itself and vanished. You stood there a long while, the rose key still warm in your hand. Its glow had dimmed to embers, the carved petals cracked and blackened, but it was real. Solid. Proof that what you had faced hadn't been just a nightmare. The boy's ember flickered inside you, faint, fragile. His voice drifted out soft as breath. "You did it. You broke it." You swallowed hard, clutching the key. "And you?" There was a pause, his voice carrying a note of tired laughter. "I was never meant to leave. I was made to guard the stairs, to lead them back in. But you," his words faltered, flickering, "you gave me a life. Even if it's only as a shadow in your chest." Your throat tightened. "I don't want you to fade." The ember pulsed once, faint warmth spreading through your ribs. "Then don't forget me. That's all I ask." The rain eased. The storm broke into silence, leaving only the hiss of water dripping from the trees. You turned away at last, walking down Blackwood Lane. Every step felt unsteady, like you were learning to move again. The world outside seemed ordinary, the hum of power lines, the glow of distant windows, the faint smell of wet asphalt. And yet you knew nothing would ever be ordinary again. When you whispered your name, it answered. Not perfectly whole, but steady, anchored. But at night, in the weeks that followed, dreams clung to you. You saw roses blooming in cracks of pavement, black petals drifting in the wind. Sometimes you woke with soil under your nails, though your bed was clean. Sometimes, in mirrors, your reflection leaned a fraction too far forward, lips parting like it wanted to speak before you did. The boy's ember voice always cut through, steady, grounding. "Say your name. Keep it sharp." And you obeyed. Still, on quiet nights, you felt it, the faintest pull. A thread brushing against the hollow scars within you. The house was gone. But hunger like that does not die. It waits. For weeks, life crept back in pieces. You went through motions, work, errands, conversations with neighbors that sounded hollow in your ears but passed without suspicion. You whispered your name when the world felt thin, and the thread in your chest stayed slack. The boy's ember voice was quieter now, speaking only in moments of silence, a warning when your reflection lingered too long in glass, a reminder to breathe when the old hollow ached. Then one night, the roses came back. You woke to the sound of scratching. Not loud, just a faint rasp against the window. At first you thought it was branches in the wind. But when you sat up, heart hammering, you saw the petals. Black and wilted, clinging to the glass like moths. They pulsed faintly, veins glowing with the same pale light that once burned in your shoulder. The boy stirred, his ember flaring hot. "Don't open it. Don't touch them." The petals quivered, then fell away. You stumbled to the window and saw them below, carpeting the street in a perfect spiral leading away from your house. The spiral wound tighter, coiling like a snake, and at its center the pavement shimmered, bending faintly, as though something underneath pressed to the surface. You whispered, "It's still here." The boy's voice was sharp. "Not the house. A piece of it. Something that slipped free when it collapsed." The spiral tightened, glowing faintly in the night. The smell of roses rose heavy in your throat, sharp enough to make you gag. Your hand closed around the rose key where it sat on your nightstand. Its carved petals warmed instantly, as though eager. The boy whispered urgently, "If you follow, you feed it. If you ignore it, it will grow." The spiral glowed brighter. From its center came a sound you knew too well, a voice speaking your name in the tone you had lost, in the exact shape of love you could never reclaim. Your chest clenched. Your knees weakened. The boy's ember seared hot, his voice breaking. "Don't listen. It's only bait." But the spiral pulsed, pulling at you, each beat sinking with your heart. The hunger was back. Smaller, weaker, but patient. And it knew exactly what you missed most. The spiral pulsed in the street, petals shivering with every beat. The sound of your name, spoken with love, the way you'd lost it, spilled from the center like a thread unspooling. It snagged on the hollows inside you, pulling, pulling. Your bare feet touched the cool floorboards before you realized you had stood. The rose key throbbed hot in your hand, its edges cutting into your palm, but it wasn't enough to root you. The boy's ember flared, his voice sharp as fire. "Stop. If you step out there, it will coil around you. That voice is not hers, it's the house's seed." But your chest ached so sharply that your body moved against your will. You crossed the room, hand hovering over the latch. The spiral outside glowed brighter, as if sensing you near. You pressed your forehead to the glass. The petals shifted. For a moment you saw her shape, your mother's outline, standing at the spiral's center. She lifted her head, and though her face was shadowed, her voice was perfect. "Come home." The sound shattered you. Tears burned hot. You whispered, "I can't." The boy roared in your chest, louder than he had ever been. "Say your name! Now!" You choked, fighting for breath. The spiral's glow hammered in your skull, drowning thought. The figure in the center raised her arms, waiting. With every scrap of will, you forced the word out. Your name. It left your lips ragged, broken, but real. The rose key flared in your hand, its petals burning scarlet. You pressed it to the glass. The spiral shrieked. The petals convulsed, curling inward, burning black at the edges. The figure dissolved into shadow, her voice distorting into the house's thousandfold hiss. "Give! Give! Give!" The spiral collapsed in on itself, sucked into a single point that snapped shut with a sound like tearing cloth. When it was gone, only ash remained scattered by the rain. You fell to your knees, trembling. The boy's ember voice softened, steadier now. "Good. You cut it out. But this was only one. Seeds spread. You'll have to be ready again." The key cooled in your palm, the glow fading. The street outside was quiet, empty. Ordinary. But you knew the house wasn't gone. Not fully. It had scattered itself like pollen. And now, pieces of it waited in the world. Morning came gray and thin, the rain gone, leaving only damp air that clung to your skin. You hadn't slept. The ash of the spiral still streaked the street, though no one else seemed to notice. Cars drove through it, neighbors stepped across it, eyes blind to the black smear. You carried the rose key in your pocket. It had cooled overnight, but when you touched it, warmth pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat waiting for another strike. The boy's ember voice was soft, tired but watchful. The house scattered itself. What you faced was only a seed, a fragment. It will root where it can, reflections, whispers, roses. It wants to grow again. You whispered. How many? The ember pulsed once. Too many to count. Enough to feed forever. Unless you burn them out. The words weighed heavy. You'd wanted freedom, peace. Now you stood at the edge of a darker truth. Survival wasn't escape. It was duty. That evening, the first fragment found you. You passed a bus stop window and saw your reflection move when you didn't. It tilted its head slowly, lips forming a word. Not your name, this time it mouthed. Hungry! The rose key burned in your pocket. 2 nights later, roses bloomed from the drain in your kitchen sink. Black, slick petals opened to reveal teeth. You slammed the key down onto the porcelain, and they withered instantly, smoke curling from the pipes. The Ember Boy whispered with grim pride. Good. Don't hesitate. Don't pity them. But each encounter left you weaker. Every fragment carried echoes of what you had lost, your mother's laugh, the sound of your name, even secrets you'd never spoken aloud. They lured you with memory, with comfort, with lies woven from the hollow places inside you. And the hollows still ached. One night, walking home under flickering street lamps, you heard it again, the chorus of voices in perfect unison. Not from behind you. Not from the shadows. From your own mouth. You froze mid-step, horrified as the words slipped free without your will. Give. The boy's ember flared hot, panicked. It's inside you. A root took hold when it marked you. If we don't cut it out, you'll become one of them. You staggered, clutching your chest. The rose key scorched against your palm, eager. The fight wasn't over. It had only begun. The word echoed from your lips. Give. Small, almost whispered, yet heavy as stone. The sound rattled through you, leaving your mouth bitter, your tongue thick. You staggered against the lamppost, clutching your chest. The boy's ember flared hot, a searing pulse under your ribs. His voice rang inside you, sharper than ever. It's inside. A root. When the vine marked you, it planted more than a tether. You gasped for air, pressing your palm to your scar. Beneath your skin something shifted, a subtle wriggle, like a worm winding deeper. Panic roared through your veins. Get it out. Tell me how to get it out. The ember pulsed again, steadier now, as if steadying you. The rose key. It burns what doesn't belong. But if you drive it too deep, it may burn you too. The thought made your knees buckle. Stabbing yourself with the same key that had split the house's heart, the same one that had seared illusions to ash, felt like a final act, not a cure. Your reflection rippled in the lampost's wet glass. It smiled faintly, its lips moving in silence. You didn't need to hear to know the word. Stay. The boy snapped. Don't look at it. Look at me. Feel me. Your name is still yours. Hold it. You dragged your gaze away, trembling. The rose key pulsed in your hand, heat radiating up your arm, into your shoulder where the marks still throbbed. The light spread along your veins like molten wire. You hissed in pain, but clung tighter. The boy whispered softer now, a thread of comfort beneath the panic. It hurts because it's true. Pain means it hasn't consumed you yet. Your vision blurred. You saw the spiral in the street, the black roses in your sink, the voices in every reflection. All of it tracing back to this seed inside you. This root. The ember flickered, its voice almost mournful. If you don't cut it, it will bloom. You'll be the next house. The words froze you cold. The thought of your body twisting into halls and doors, laughter and secrets woven into your walls. It made bile rise in your throat. You pressed the rose key hard to your chest. The metal seared instantly, light flaring white through your skin. The root writhed violently, a parasite fighting death. Pain ripped through you, sharp and blinding. You screamed your name. The night swallowed it. The streetlights blew out. And for a heartbeat, everything went silent. Your scream tore the night, bouncing off the dead street lamps, swallowed by the rain. The rose key seared hotter against your chest, its carved petals burning into flesh. The light spread in veins across your torso, crawling like fire under your skin. You collapsed onto the pavement, writhing. The root writhed back, thick cords coiling in your chest, tightening, choking. Your heart stuttered as if wrapped in thorns. The boy's ember flared, his voice fierce. Don't stop. Keep your name sharp. Speak it until it cuts. You gasped, your throat raw. The word faltered as something inside you hissed, a chorus of whispers rising, mocking. Stay. 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 Your reflection pulled in the rain at your feet, faces crowding upward, mouths opening wide. They were yours, all the selves you might have been, all the ones the house had stolen. They reached with hands made of liquid glass, clawing at your legs. You slammed the rose key harder against your chest. The light burst outward, searing the rain reflections to steam. The root screamed inside you, a guttural shriek that rattled your bones. The boy shouted, Now! Tear it out! You dug your fingers into the scar, nails breaking skin, clawing at the searing light. Pain blinded you, white hot. And then, you felt it. A knot. A living, writhing thing coiled around your ribs. You seized it with trembling fingers. It burned and froze all at once, biting deep. You pulled. The world split open with your scream. The root tore free in a rush of black fluid that sizzled against the pavement. It writhed like a snake, pale veins glowing, voices shrieking in unison. Give! 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 Before it could escape, you slammed the rose key down into it. The thing burst into ash, dissolving in the rain. The voices cut short, leaving silence so deep it made your ears ring. You collapsed onto your back, chest heaving, visions swimming. The scar glowed faintly, but the marks burning had dimmed to a dull throb. The boy's ember voice was quiet now, almost awed. You cut it out. You coughed, tasting iron. Am I free? A pause. Then, softly, freer. But roots scatter. Some may already be inside others. The words chilled you deeper than the rain. If the fragments were planting themselves not just in places but in people, then the house was not gone. It was multiplying. The ember whispered one last truth. It will not stop until you do. You lay in the rain, scar burning, key cooling in your hand. And for the first time you wondered, were you a survivor? Or the beginning of a hunter? The rain eased into a thin drizzle by dawn, leaving the streets slick and gleaming. You hadn't moved from where you lay, chest heaving, the rose key cooling slowly in your palm. The scar burned less now, no longer a chain, but a warning. Every throb reminded you of what you had pulled from yourself, of what still might lurk in others. When you finally staggered to your feet, the world looked ordinary again. Streetlights hummed back to life. Cars passed. A neighbor jogged by with earbuds in, oblivious to the ash stains dissolving in the puddles at your feet. But you knew better. The boy's ember voice whispered in your ribs, thin but steady. Watch them. Roots hide behind faces. When you see hunger in the eyes, you'll know. You didn't want to believe him. You wanted to pretend the fight had ended with the house's collapse. That tearing the root from your chest had sealed the story. But the truth gnawed at you with every step you took back to your door. 3 days later, you saw the first sign. At the grocery store, under buzzing fluorescent lights, a woman stood too still in the produce aisle. Her cart was empty. She held a single apple in her hand, staring at it with such intensity the air seemed to warp. Her lips moved, silently mouthing a word over and over. You froze, blood icing. You knew the shape of that word. Give. The rose key burned in your pocket, faint but insistent. Your heart pounded. Was it real? Or were you seeing shadows where there were none? The woman looked up suddenly. Her eyes met yours. For one instant you saw the pale glow, the same veins that had burned under your skin. It flickered and vanished, her face folding back into weary normalcy. She smiled politely, setting the apple into her cart as if nothing had happened. The boy's ember voice was harsh in your chest. That's how it begins. Seeds hiding under flesh. You can't ignore it. You turned away, trembling. You couldn't just stab a stranger in the middle of a store. Couldn't burn them with a cursed key because of a flicker in their eyes. But as you pushed your cart down the aisle, you caught the faintest scent of roses on the air. And you knew. The house had not only survived, it was growing. You circled the aisles twice, pretending to browse, but your eyes kept flicking back to her, the woman with the apple. She moved mechanically, cartwheels squeaking against the tile, her gaze fixed somewhere you couldn't see. Every so often, her lips moved again, the shape of give pressing faintly through the hum of the store. Your scar throbbed in morning. The rose key pulsed in your pocket, warm, restless. The boy's ember voice sharpened. Don't wait. If the root flowers, she won't be herself anymore. You clenched your fists around the cart handle. And if I'm wrong? You hissed under your breath. If it's just some tired woman with a grocery list? The ember's heat flared. Then the key will stay cool. But if you walk away and she carries the seed, others will suffer for it. The woman reached the self-checkout. You abandoned your cart and followed, pulse hammering. She scanned the apple slowly, the machine's robotic voice droning. $1.99. Her fingers trembled as she reached for her wallet. For a moment, she looked ordinary, harmless. Then her reflection appeared on the black glass of the idle register beside her. Not her face. Yours. Staring back, lips curling into a grin. Your stomach dropped. The boy snarled. Now! Your hand shot into your pocket. The rose key burned instantly, its carved petals searing against your palm. You moved before you could think, striding to her side. She turned, startled, apple in hand. Her eyes flickered pale. You pressed the key against her wrist. She screamed, a sound too layered, too wrong, like dozens of voices stacked together. Her skin blistered under the key's glow, veins igniting white. She dropped the apple. It split open on the floor, rotten inside, crawling with tiny black thorns. Customers turned, gasping. But to them, she only looked like a woman fainting in pain, not the shrieking thing your scar saw. The key flared once more, then cooled. The pale glow in her eyes guttered out. She collapsed to the tile, unconscious. You staggered back, chest heaving, the stink of roses choking your throat. The boy whispered low, grim. You pulled it early. She'll live. For now. Shoppers crowded around her, pulling out phones, murmuring about ambulances. None of them saw the rot. None of them smelled the roses. But you did. And now you knew, this wasn't an isolated seed. It was spreading, unseen, through the veins of ordinary life. The paramedics came fast. You stood among the gathering crowd, the rose key cooling heavy in your pocket, its glow gone but its weight impossible to ignore. The woman lay on the floor, pale but breathing, the black rot of the apple swept unnoticed into the trash by a clerk. To everyone else, you looked like a bystander. But you knew the truth, you had marked yourself. You had touched her, burned her. And if anyone had seen the flare of light, the way her scream carried not one voice but many. They didn't. Or they couldn't. Still, whispers followed as you left the store. You felt eyes on your back, suspicion coiling. The boy's ember voice pulsed softly. This is the cost. The world won't see the roots for what they are. To them, you'll look like a danger. A lunatic. Worse. You walked quickly, rain washing the stench of roses from your skin. But the truth clung. You couldn't wait for the fragments to bloom. You had to find them before they spread. Before the world became a new house. The first hunt began that night. Your scar throbbed, tugging like a compass. It pulled you down side streets, past shuttered shops, into the hushed dark of an underpass where the city's noise dimmed. There, you found a man sitting against the concrete wall, muttering to himself. At first glance, he was only homeless, his coat ragged, his beard damp with rain. But as you stepped closer, you smelled it. Roses, faint beneath the stench of mildew. His muttering sharpened into whispers. Stay. 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 You tightened your grip on the rose key. He looked up. His eyes glowed faintly pale, veins spiderwebbing under his skin. He smiled, and when his mouth opened, 3 voices spilled out at once. Give. You slammed the key against his chest. Light burst, searing through his body. He shrieked, voice splintering into dozens, hands clawing at the air. The root writhed under his skin, glowing white as it burned. When it was over, he lay still, breathing shallow. The glow was gone. The boy's ember whispered, "You cut it before it bloomed. He'll wake human again." You staggered back, trembling. The mark on your shoulder ached dully. The key cooled once more. The boy's voice was quiet, solemn. "This is who you are now. Not survivor. Not victim. You're the blade. The house scattered itself across the world, and you are the one who must keep it from rising again." You sank to your knees under the underpass, rain dripping from the concrete above. The word hunter echoed in your mind, bitter as ash. And for the first time, you realized every hunt would take something from you, too. The scar on your shoulder throbbed hotter each night, pulling you like a compass toward infection points. But now, every time you followed it, you felt resistance, not just a tug but a pushback. The fragments had grown aware of you. One evening, the pull dragged you to an abandoned warehouse at the edge of town. The building stood hollow, windows broken, walls damp with mold. Yet from within, you smelled it, roses, thick and cloying. The boy's ember pulsed hard in your ribs. It's waiting for you. Not just a root this time. A bloom. You gripped the rose key until your knuckles went white. The scar seared brighter, veins glowing faint beneath your skin. Inside, the warehouse was lit by a strange glow. Roots crawled across the concrete floor, pale and pulsing, leading toward a figure at the center. A man. Or what had once been one. He stood tall, eyes pale white, mouth curled into a too-wide grin. Veins bulged under his skin, glowing like molten lines. As he turned, his body cracked at the seams, petals blooming from the gaps. Black roses burst from his shoulders, his arms, even his throat. When he spoke, his voice was layered with dozens, and the word made your stomach lurch. "Hunter!" You froze. None of them had ever spoken to you before. The boy whispered, low and tense. "It knows what you are. Be ready." The creature lunged. Faster than any human should move, its limbs stretched, petals slicing through the air. You dove aside, slamming the key into the floor. Light seared outward, roots shrieking as they burned. But the bloom didn't falter. It laughed, voices overlapping, petals unfolding wider. "You can burn seeds, but blooms grow back." It struck again, a thorn vine whipping from its chest. The blow caught your shoulder, sending you crashing into a rusted beam. Pain exploded down your arm. The scar flared, veins blazing white. The boy's ember roared in your chest. "Say it now! Your name! Cut it open!" The nights blurred together, hunts stringing one into the next. The scar on your shoulder became a compass, pulling you toward fragments that festered in ordinary people. A teacher whose laughter carried too many echoes. A bus driver who whispered, "Stay," into the rearview mirror. A child staring too long into puddles that rippled without wind. Each time, the rose key burned hotter, searing through roots before they flowered. Each time, the victims collapsed, human again, unaware of what had lived inside them. But the house's remnants weren't passive. They learned. The first sign came one night in a laundromat, the hum of machines filling the air. A young man sat in the corner, folding clothes. His reflection in the dryer glass didn't match his movements. Its hands stuttered, its eyes glowed faintly pale. You approached, rose key warming in your palm. The boy's ember warned. "Careful. It knows you now." When you pressed the key to the young man's arm, the fragment didn't shriek. It laughed. The reflection in the dryer glass grinned, lips curling too wide. From its mouth poured your mother's voice, perfect and cruel. "Home, home, come home." Your knees buckled. The glow in the young man's veins surged outward, wrapping your wrist in pale tendrils that burned cold. The root wasn't just inside him. It was reaching for you. The boy roared in your chest. "Say it! Cut yourself free!" You screamed your name, forcing the sound through clenched teeth. The tendrils recoiled, hissing, the rose key flaring white-hot. You drove it harder against the man's chest. This time the root tore free like a whip of light, striking against the walls, clawing across the ceiling before the key burned it to ash. The young man collapsed, gasping, unconscious. You staggered back, trembling. The reflection in the dryer glass still grinned. Then it spoke in your voice. "You can't burn us all." The glass cracked, splintering into a web of fractures, then went dark. You gasped for air, forcing the word past your lips. The warehouse shook, the balloon shrieking as your name tore through the air. You lunged, slamming the rose key into its chest. Light flared. The roses on its body ignited, petals curling to ash. The voices screamed, unraveling, but not before hissing a final warning. "You can't stop the garden." The bloom collapsed into a heap of ash and charred roots. The warehouse went silent. You fell to your knees, chest heaving, the rose key searing hot in your palm. The boy's ember flickered weakly. This was only the first. More will follow. And they'll be stronger. You stared at the ashes, trembling. The house hadn't just scattered itself. It was cultivating. You left the warehouse at dawn, clothes scorched, skin streaked with ash. Your arm ached from where the bloom's thorn had struck, the scar around it glowing faintly. The rose key pulsed in your pocket like a second heartbeat, hot and restless. On the walk home, you felt it, eyes. Not the houses, not the fragments, but human eyes. People slowed as you passed, whispering. A man at a bus stop leaned forward, frowning at your burned sleeve. A jogger gave you a wide berth, staring too long at the pale glow still seeping faintly through your skin. The boy's ember voice stirred uneasily. "They're noticing. To them, you're not burning roots. You're setting fires. Hurting people. They'll never see what you fight. Only what it costs." By the time you reached your street, a police cruiser idled near your building. 2 officers stood outside, speaking quietly with a neighbor. Their eyes cut to you as you approached, sharp and searching. You forced your legs to carry you past them, each step heavy. The rose key burned hotter, as though warning you. Inside, you collapsed onto the couch, chest tight. For a moment, you thought of surrender, letting the world take you, letting the roots grow unchecked. Maybe the house would win, but at least the weight would be gone. But then you heard it. From the apartment upstairs. A whisper. Faint, but unmistakable. "Give! Give! Give!" Your blood iced. The boy's ember pulsed hard. "It's here! It's closer than ever!" You rose slowly, clutching the rose key. The officers were still outside. If they saw you force entry, burn another fragment, you'd be finished. But the whisper came again, louder now, the syllables dragging across the ceiling. The scent of roses bled into your apartment, heavy, choking. The boy's voice was firm, unyielding. "If you hesitate, it will bloom. And when it blooms, it won't hide. They'll all see what you've been fighting, and by then, it may be too late." You stared at the ceiling, scar blazing, the rose key hot in your grip. The war was no longer in forgotten corners. It was in your own home. The whisper dragged across the ceiling again, longer this time, louder. "G-Yaev." The words stretched, warped, as though dozens of mouths spoke it at once. You pressed the rose key tight to your palm. Its carved petals burned, veins of light crawling up your wrist. The scar on your shoulder pulsed in rhythm, pulling you toward the stairwell. Outside, the officers still spoke with your neighbor. Every step you took toward the apartment door felt like balancing on a blade. One wrong move and they'd see, they'd follow, they'd catch you in the act. The boy's ember voice whispered. "Quiet now. No panic. Step steady. If they see, deny them. This fight is yours alone." You climbed the stairs, heart hammering. The air grew heavier, thicker with the stench of roses. It pressed into your lungs like smoke, every breath coated with sweetness that turned sour on your tongue. The hallway stretched too long, the walls faintly rippling, paint peeling in waves. At the far end, the door to the upstairs apartment stood ajar. A pale glow spilled through the gap, veins of light crawling across the floorboards. You pushed it open. Inside, the living room sagged in shadow. Furniture sat twisted, wood warped and sprouting thorns. Roots pulsed from the floor, crawling up the walls, glowing faint beneath peeling wallpaper. And in the center sat the tenant, an old man. His hands rested on his knees, his eyes glowing white. From his mouth spilled whispers, endless and layered. The word give, tangled with others. Stay, rest forever. His skin bulged with roses blooming from beneath, black petals splitting through the thin fabric of his shirt. He looked up at you and smiled. The boy's ember roared. It's blooming! Strike before it finishes! You surged forward, rose key raised. But the old man's voice changed, twisting into something that froze you. Your mother's laugh. Your own voice answering. The boy's voice too, soft and pleading. The whispers overlapped, weaving a net. Why fight? Sit. Rest. Give the key. Give yourself. Your steps faltered. The hollow inside you throbbed, old wounds reopening. For one moment, you wanted nothing more than to drop the key and sink into the roses, to let the bloom take you. The boy's ember burned hotter, searing your ribs. Say your name, he screamed. Say it or you're finished. The bloom rose from the chair, taller now, vines uncoiling. Its roses opened wide, petals sharp as blades, mouths whispering in harmony. It reached for you. The old man's body convulsed as the bloom overtook him. His spine bent backward, cracking like a snapped beam. Roots erupted from his chest, black roses unfurling in a frenzy, petals slick with a tar-like sheen. His jaw split wider, and from it poured not a scream but laughter, your laughter, stolen and warped. The scar on your shoulder blazed white-hot, searing through your veins. You staggered, clutching the rose key as the room distorted, walls bending inward. The boy's ember roared. Strike now! But the bloom struck first. Vines whipped through the air, thorns slicing across your arm. Blood spattered the floor. You stumbled back, slamming against the warped wall. The wallpaper writhed beneath your palms, roots crawling into your skin. The voices swelled, your mother calling your name, the boy whispering, even your own voice begging you to give in. The illusions clawed at you, each one more tender, more cruel than the last. For a heartbeat you faltered. The rose key dimmed in your grip. The bloom towered above you, roses opening wide, mouths whispering in perfect chorus. Rest. Stay. Give. Then you forced the word out, your name. It ripped from your throat raw and jagged, but it carried weight. The illusions shattered, the whispers faltering. The rose key flared bright again, heat searing your palm. You lunged forward, slamming it into the bloom's chest. Light burst, flooding the room. The old man's body arched, vines shrieking as they burned, roses curling into ash. The bloom thrashed, striking you across the shoulder, nearly tearing the key from your hand. You screamed your name again, louder, forcing the word into the bloom's twisting form. The roots recoiled, shriveling. The boy's ember flared in unison, his voice merging with yours. Burn! The key sank deeper. The bloom convulsed, voices screaming in dozens of stolen tongues. Then, with a final shriek, it collapsed inward, roses dissolving into ash. The old man's body fell limp, smoking, pale. He breathed, shallow, ragged, but human. The apartment sagged back to silence. The roots retreated, leaving only scorch marks on the floor. The stench of roses lingered, choking. You dropped to your knees, chest heaving, blood dripping from your arm. The rose key dimmed again, its glow fading to a low ember. The boy's voice was steady now, grim. The blooms are spreading faster. They're not hiding anymore. The house doesn't want to wait, it wants to rise again. And outside, from the street below, you heard shouts. Doors slamming. Heavy footsteps. The police. The battle upstairs hadn't gone unnoticed. Boots thundered on the stairs. Radios crackled below, voices sharp with urgency. The fight upstairs had not been quiet. The screams, the shattering, the stench of smoke and roses had bled into the night. You staggered to your feet, clutching the rose key. The old man groaned where he lay, alive but unconscious, scorch marks crawling up his arms. To the police, he would look like a victim. To you, he was proof of something much worse. The boy's ember pulsed hot in your ribs. They won't understand. To them, you're the monster with the burning key. The door burst open. 2 officers stormed in, flashlights slicing through the dim, pistols raised. Their beams locked on you, bloody, burned, standing over a collapsed old man in a ruined apartment. Hands where we can see them, one barked. The rose key pulsed in your palm, eager, hungry. You raised your free hand slowly, chest heaving. Behind the officers, the hallway walls shifted, roots writhing just under the wallpaper, roses twitching as if waiting for a chance to bloom. The boy hissed, "It's here too. The house is spreading faster than they know. If you let them take you, the roots will take them before dawn." The officers edged closer. One radioed for backup, his voice tight. The other kept his pistol steady, eyes flicking between your bloody arm and the key glowing faintly in your grip. "Drop whatever that is," he ordered. You looked at the weapon in your hand, the only thing standing between this world and the house's return. Dropping it would mean surrender. Keeping it meant war. The roots in the walls pulsed harder. The scent of roses thickened, flooding the room. Behind the officers, a shadow shifted, forming a mouth that whispered, "Give." You had seconds. You screamed your name, driving the rose key into the floor. Light burst outward, searing through the roots. The walls shrieked, roses curling into ash. The officers staggered back, blinded, shouting into their radios. When the light dimmed, the roots were gone, but so were you. You fled into the night, lungs burning, rain washing blood from your skin. The city stretched before you, ordinary and blind. But you knew better. The house's seeds were everywhere. The boy's ember burned steady, his voice quiet but resolute. "You are no longer prey. You are the hunter. But hunters are always hunted too." You clutched the rose key, whispering your name into the storm. Far behind, on Blackwood Lane, you felt it, the faintest echo of laughter. The house was gone. But its garden was growing.